Hello guys. Welcome to Soul Fiction. So in this video, we will see what if Naruto gained the combined power of all Akatsuki. Check the summary in the description. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's dive into the story. Late afternoon sunlight slants through the tall windows of the Hokage's office. A hush hangs over the space, broken only by the rustle of papers on a large mahogany desk. Naruto Uzumaki stands in the center of the room, arms crossed. His eyes, normally warm and full of energy, are guarded now. He notices the way the elders avoid looking at him head-on. He notices how even a few of his old friends keep their distance. "I'm not signing that," Naruto mutters, voice low. "This whole mission assignment, this whole plan, makes no sense. You're asking me to leave the village for months, when you know how shaky things are with the other nations." Silence. Homura, one of the advisors, clears his throat. Shikamaru stands near the back, looking torn, but he doesn't speak up. Naruto senses something off, an undercurrent of tension. He waits. Tsunade is gone on a diplomatic trip, and that's part of why he's here, cornered by these elders. Kaharu steps forward. She places a scroll on the desk. "Naruto," she says evenly, "it's not a request. It's a directive. Konoha is under pressure. The daimyo is concerned about the power you hold. The council has decided you should be sent on an extended reconnaissance mission to the fringes of the land of Earth. Officially, you'll be searching for rogue ninjas. And officially, we need to keep you away from potential temptations." Temptations? Naruto tightens his fists. "I'm not the nine-tails Jinchuriki you used to fear. You know I'd never harm the village. Have I not proven that 1,000 times over?" He feels Shikamaru's gaze pressing into his back, but the shadow user says nothing. Naruto waits for someone else. Kakashi, maybe, or even Sakura, to protest. His old teammates aren't here, though. The only ones present are a handful of council members and a few Anbu guards. It's suffocating. Kaharu's tone hardens. "This isn't a debate. You will pack your belongings and leave Konoha by dawn. We have reason to believe your presence incites other villages to take defensive postures. They see you as a threat." She gestures to the scroll. "We'll keep the peace here. Meanwhile, you'll carry out your duties elsewhere." Naruto's anger simmers. "No, that's not what's really going on. What is this, exactly?" He can't help the bitterness creeping into his voice. "Are you trying to cast me out so you can avoid dealing with me?" A flicker of disapproval crosses Kaharu's face. "We're doing this for the sake of the village." Suddenly, one of the Anbu steps forward. The mask is unfamiliar, but the posture is tense. "Lord Seventh," the masked ninja murmurs, "with all due respect, you need to comply. If you won't, we have orders to escort you out by force." Naruto stiffens. "Force? You think I'll stand by while the village I saved turns on me?" An uncomfortable quiet spreads. A memory flickers in Naruto's mind. He's been used to being an outsider, but after the war, after becoming the hero who helped defeat Madara and Kagaya, he thought that sense of belonging was permanent. Now, he realizes how fragile it all is. Shikamaru finally speaks, voice low. "Naruto, maybe it's best if you go. Just for a while. Cool your head. Let the council see you're not a threat." Naruto's eyes snap to him. "Shikamaru, you of all people know this is wrong." Shikamaru doesn't deny it. He lowers his gaze. "I know, but it's the elders' decision. The climate in Konoha is tense. There are rumors from the daimyo. And the council, they're not letting me or anyone else intervene." Naruto exhales slowly. A swirl of anger, hurt, and disbelief churns in his gut. He glances around one last time, hoping to catch any sign of empathy. But all he sees is fear. A slow chill seeps through his veins. He feels the Kyuubi chakra stir, reacting to his emotions. "Fine," he says quietly. "If that's what you want, I'll leave." He cuts his gaze at Kaharu. "But I'm not going out like some exiled criminal. I'm going under protest, and I'll be back when I damn well please." He turns on his heel and storms toward the door. The Anbu part for him. He notices how they flinch, almost expecting him to lash out. The thought of that stings. He leaves without another word. Outside, the sun is dipping behind the Hokage monument. Naruto strides through the streets, ignoring the curious glances from villagers. He heads straight for his apartment, fighting the urge to punch a wall. When he enters, he sees a single packed bag on the table. It's the same one he takes on missions. Next to it is a note in Sakura's handwriting. I heard about the council's decision. I'm sorry. I tried to talk them out of it, but I'll be waiting for you to come back. Stay safe, idiot. He clenches his jaw. Sakura tried, but apparently no one could budge the elders. A wave of bitterness washes over him. Has everything he's done, the sacrifices, the battles, been so easily forgotten? He moves to his window and stares out over the village he once dreamed of leading. A swirl of unresolved emotion keeps him pinned in place. Sasuke left by choice, Naruto mutters, recalling a distant memory. But me? They're forcing me out. After all this time, it's like nothing's changed. He spots a few shinobi patrolling near the building, presumably to ensure he follows the directive. The presence of watchers annoys him more than it should. He shuts the window with more force than necessary and decides to rest. The dawn departure is hours away, but his mind is too restless to sleep. Deep in the night, the door to his apartment slides open without a knock. Naruto jerks upright, reflexes sharp, and forms a Rasengan in his palm. He sees Shikamaru slipping in, hands raised in a calming gesture. It's me, Shikamaru whispers. Relax. Naruto narrows his eyes but lets the Rasengan fizzle out. What do you want? Shikamaru closes the door behind him, then leans against it. There's more to this than the elders are saying. You probably guessed that. I wanted to warn you. Naruto crosses his arms. Warn me about what? That they might have me killed if I don't comply. A flicker of regret crosses Shikamaru's features. I don't think it's that extreme. But they're definitely spooked. After the war, you were a hero. Maybe too big of a hero. People up top fear what could happen if you ever lost control. They think the only reason the other villages stay cooperative is because we hold you in check. Naruto grits his teeth. So I'm a convenient scapegoat for their insecurities? Shikamaru sighs. That's one way to put it. Just, if you're leaving, keep an eye out. There might be other moves. I've heard talk of secret operations. They're not as trusting of you as you think. Naruto's fury deepens. That's an understatement. Shikamaru steps toward him, voice low. Still, I'm your friend. Regardless of what's happened, I want you to come back. Don't do anything rash. Don't burn bridges you can't rebuild. Naruto scoffs. Rash. Look at what they're doing. You know me well enough, I won't stand down if they cross the line. I know. Shikamaru's eyes flick to the side. Just promise me something. Don't let them push you into acting like the monster they already fear. Naruto's shoulders tense, but he gives a stiff nod. I'm no monster. I saved this village more times than they can count. I remember. I owe you my life, man. Believe me, I haven't forgotten. But we're dealing with politics, paranoia, the usual nonsense. Nerifly. Just go. I appreciate the heads up, but it doesn't change the fact that they're kicking me out. Shikamaru's expression is pained. I'm sorry. He turns and slips back out the door, leaving Naruto in the dimly lit room once again. Dawn comes faster than expected. Naruto stands at the village gates, pack slung over his shoulder. 2 Anbu members flank him, apparently assigned to confirm his departure. He can feel their guarded stares. He turns to look back at the gate, the massive wooden doors that symbolize both protection and freedom. For a split second, he contemplates ignoring the order, but he sees no point in causing a scene. The council has turned on him. Fighting here and now would just prove them right. Without a word, he faces forward and takes his first steps away from Konoha. A heaviness settles in his chest. He recalls how many times he's passed through these gates with excitement, on missions to protect the village. Today, it feels like he's walking into exile. He travels alone for hours. The road is quiet, lined by tall trees and patches of wildflowers. Birds flit overhead. The routine nature of traveling used to calm him, but now his thoughts rage. He replays the meeting, the suspicious stares, the silence from those who should have defended him. Eventually, he veers off the main road and heads deeper into the forest, aiming to find a secluded spot to gather his thoughts. A clearing appears, complete with a small stream trickling by. He drops his pack and sits on a large rock, letting the tension subside. Just as he starts to relax, a faint rustling behind him breaks the stillness. He leaps off the rock, kunai in hand, scanning the brush. A figure emerges. A masked shinobi wearing the insignia of Konoha. Naruto scowls. What, they send you to spy on me now? The masked shinobi steps forward slowly, hands in the air. Naruto Uzumaki, you're under suspicion of high treason. Naruto's pulse spikes. Treason? This is ridiculous. The shinobi tilts his head. We have evidence linking you to an attack on a border post near the Land of Fire's western perimeter. The elders have demanded your immediate arrest. Naruto grits his teeth. What the hell are you talking about? I just left the village, and I'm alone. The shinobi doesn't move. We have no proof you didn't orchestrate the attack in advance. Please surrender yourself. Naruto clenches his fists, rage flaring. I see. So it's not just exile. They want to pin some crime on me to justify their paranoia. Well, I'm not going back. You and your little squad can get lost. From the corner of his eye, he sees a second figure step out from behind the trees. Then a third. The clearing is no longer peaceful. It's a trap. He can sense at least 5 distinct chakras, hidden around the perimeter. This is no polite request. He narrows his eyes. You realize this is insane. I could crush you all if I wanted. Don't make me do it. The masked shinobi tenses. We follow the council's orders. A flicker of memory passes through Naruto's mind. Times when he tried to reason with misguided enemies. But these aren't random rogues. They're Leaf Shinobi, his own village's forces. He feels a twinge of heartbreak. Then the heartbreak sharpens into anger. The betrayal is now undeniable. He forms a quick sign. Don't say I didn't warn you. In an instant, he channels his chakra, the Kyuubi's presence swirling around him with a reddish glow. The ground trembles. Leaves whip around in a furious gust. The first shinobi lunges, moving swiftly with a short sword. Naruto sidesteps, counters with a strike that sends the attacker crashing into a tree. Another leaps from behind, tossing kunai. Naruto weaves through them effortlessly, hand signs forming. Shadow clone jutsu. 2 clones appear, launching themselves at the ambushers. The clearing erupts into chaos, branches snap, energy crackles, shouts ring out. Naruto's anger fuels his chakra. He's careful not to kill them, but he doesn't hold back enough to make it easy. In seconds, 3 of the masked shinobi are pinned to the ground, panting and defeated. The others vanish into the woods, perhaps retreating or circling around. Naruto stands in the midst of scattered debris, chest heaving. One of the pinned shinobi coughs. We have orders, the daimyo himself demanded, you be contained. If you resist, we can't guarantee your safety or the safety of the leaf. Naruto steps closer. Safety of the leaf? You're the ones endangering it, turning on your best line of defense. The shinobi doesn't answer, head slumping in defeat. Naruto feels a bitter taste in his mouth. Everything is unraveling so fast. He'd only been gone from the village a few hours, and they already tried to arrest him on trumped-up charges. That means there was never any intention of letting him just walk away. They wanted an excuse. He dispels his clones, letting the pinned shinobi collapse. Tell them. He hesitates, voice shaking with anger. Tell them I won't be so merciful next time. They want to frame me. Fine. They'll see what happens if they push me too far. He collects his pack and disappears into the woods, leaving the battered squad in the clearing. His heart thumps with a mix of rage and betrayal. This is no small misunderstanding. This is a full-scale purge. Nightfall. Naruto finds shelter in a small cave near the edge of a rushing river. He lights a small fire and sits there, thinking about what happened. He recalls the words of Shikamaru, urging him not to become the monster. But how can he ignore the fact that they just tried to arrest him? He stares into the flames. If they want me gone, they have their wish. But they'd better be ready to face the consequences if they keep this up. He retrieves a scroll from his pack, one he took from the Hokage's personal library before he left. It's sealed with complex encryption. He recognizes the symbols from fragments of stories about the Akatsuki's origins. He never had a reason to look into it, but now, he's searching for anything that could give him an edge. The elders and daimyo apparently think he's too powerful, a threat. If they're going to treat him as an enemy, maybe it's time to become the unstoppable force they fear. He runs his fingers over the seal. The memory of Pain, Nagato, Itachi, and others flickers through his mind. The Akatsuki brought the world to its knees once. Their combined powers were terrifying. Naruto wonders, if he studied their techniques, their secrets, could he harness them? Could he become something greater? He shakes his head, reminding himself of his moral compass. But in the stillness, a bitter voice inside him says, "They already marked you a traitor. So why not become strong enough to protect yourself, and to show them what real power is?" Somewhere else in the land of fire, hidden within the thick canopy, a small group of council-affiliated shinobi gather around a makeshift camp. Their leader, a grim-faced man with a scar across his cheek, speaks into a communication scroll. Naruto has resisted arrest. We'll proceed with the next phase. Authorization to use lethal force has been granted. A disembodied voice crackles through the scroll. Approved. Capture if possible, kill if not. The daimyo wants results. The shinobi nods. Understood. Then he looks at the half-dozen ninjas under his command. We know how dangerous he is. Stay focused. Remember, we have the advantage of numbers and a direct line to the council. He's alone. They break apart, silent as wraiths in the moonlight, heading for Naruto's last known location. Dawn breaks again, pale and cold. Naruto makes good time traveling deeper into a region near the border. He knows he's being hunted. By midday, he hears the rustle of numerous pursuers behind him. He halts in a wide clearing filled with short, scrubby grass. The wind sets the grass swaying in waves. H turns around to face them. If they want to fight, better here than while I'm asleep. Within moments, a group of shinobi emerges from the tree line. The scar-faced leader steps forward. Naruto Uzumaki. By order of the council and the daimyo, surrender yourself. Naruto stands tall, the wind tugging at his hair. I'm done playing nice. You want me so badly, come and get me. They rush him. Kunai glint in the sunlight. Naruto swiftly forms hand signs. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. The clearing is instantly filled with dozens of Narutos. Shouts echo. Explosions of chakra follow. The real Naruto leaps high, calling upon the Kyuubi's energy. Claws of red chakra form around his arms. He slams down into the middle of the attacking shinobi, scattering them like leaves. A flurry of jutsu crackles around him, wind bullets, fire streams, lightning bolts. He dodges or blocks them, each time retaliating with punishing blows. One by one, the attackers fall. The scar-faced leader, however, is more skilled. He meets Naruto head-on, engaging in a taijutsu flurry. Their fists collide, shockwaves rattling the air. The leader roars, "You're betraying Konoha." Naruto snarls, "Konoha betrayed me first." He grabs the man's wrist and channels an intense surge of Nine Tails chakra. The man screams as the energy whips through him, sending him crashing to the ground. Naruto breathes heavily, adrenaline pounding. He glances around, noticing the battered shinobi, some unconscious, some groaning in pain, none able to stand against him. He kneels beside the leader, who coughs and glares up at him. You were supposed to be the hero." Naruto's expression darkens. "I was the hero, until your council decided otherwise." The man coughs up blood. "We were just following orders." Naruto stands, gazing at the battered group. He feels no satisfaction, just a hollow ache. He wonders how quickly word will spread that he's become a traitor. He pictures the faces of Kakashi, Sakura, Tsunade, all believing in him, and his throat tightens. But the line is crossed now. There's no going back to the naive trust he once had. By evening, Naruto reaches an abandoned watchtower nestled at the base of rocky cliffs. The structure is half collapsed, vines weaving through its old stone walls. He steps inside, rummaging around until he finds an underground passage. The place looks like it hasn't been used in decades. He sets a small camp in an intact corner. By lantern light, he unseals the scroll from the Hokage's library. This time, he's determined to break it open. His chakra surges, swirling around the complicated lock seal. Slowly, the seal sizzles. The scroll unravels, revealing dense text and diagrams written in a coded script. He spends hours deciphering the fragments. Words jump out at him. Rinnegan, Forbidden Chakra Synergy. Uchiha Stone Tablet, Chakra Seals. The name, Akatsuki, appears repeatedly. Naruto's mind churns, recalling how the Akatsuki members once terrorized the world. Pain's Rinnegan, Itachi's illusions, Kisami's monstrous water style, Deidara's explosive art, Sasori's puppets, Kakuzu's multi-element jutsu, Hidan's immortality. Individually, they were deadly. Combined, they nearly toppled entire nations. He frowns. Why did the Hokage library keep a scroll like this under tight lock and key? Maybe it's a record of how to seal or counter the Akatsuki's abilities, or maybe something more. He sees a small note scribbled in the margin, possibly by Jiraiya or someone investigating the Akatsuki. It says, "The synergy of the Akatsuki's abilities is more than the sum of its parts. If unified in one vessel, the result could surpass even the Sage of Six Paths. This must remain sealed." Naruto's hand trembles. Surpass the Sage of Six Paths? The thought is staggering and dangerous. He remembers the Sage's legendary power, the one that once let Naruto and Sasuke seal Kagaya. If he harnessed the might of all Akatsuki members, the mere concept sends a thrill through him, though it's tinged with worry. Such power could corrupt. But then he recalls the vicious betrayal, the attempts on his life, the condemnation by those he trusted. He clenches his jaw. He's alone now, backed into a corner. If the entire land of fire is being set against him, if the daimyo wants him dead, maybe extreme measures are necessary. His eyes skim over instructions detailing a complex sealing ritual. It mentions requiring remnants or essence of each member. Naruto wonders if the slivers of chakra from the reanimated bodies, or leftover DNA samples, or even personal items might suffice. He thinks about the many battle sites, the graves. Konoha's archives might have kept fragments from the war. He rubs the back of his neck. This is insane, he mutters, imagining how unbelievably risky it is. But he also sees no safer alternative. If they corner him, they might kill him. Or worse, lock him away so he can never see the light of day. Several miles away, in the heart of Konoha, Homura and Kaharu confer with the daimyo's messenger. They spread out maps on a table in a darkened meeting room. Homura points to a marked path. Our squads engaged Naruto somewhere here, near the border. He defeated them easily. The survivors confirmed he's using the Nine Tails chakra without restraint. The messenger, dressed in regal robes, grimaces. The daimyo is displeased with your failure. He expects results, by any means necessary. Kaharu's gaze flicks to the messenger. We're dealing with a threat on par with the tailed beasts. Perhaps even more dangerous. The shinobi forces can't simply subdue him easily. We need a strategic approach. The messenger shakes his head. No, the daimyo wants immediate action. You must eliminate him before he destabilizes the region. He's a living weapon that can be turned against us. Homura and Kaharu exchange worried glances. We'll mobilize more forces. Elite squads, possibly even request aid from other villages. The messenger's expression remains stony. See that you do. If this continues, the daimyo will hold Konoha fully responsible. Naruto, still in the watchtower, finishes reading through the entire scroll by the faint glow of the lantern. The instructions are cryptic, referencing multiple hidden sites where the Akatsuki might have left behind personal relics. He recalls the place where Itachi died, the cave where Sasori once battled Sakura and Shio, the hideout where Hidan was buried. Though Shikamaru had left him in a deep pit, there might be traces of their chakra or DNA in those locations. The notion of collecting fragments is eerie, but desperation is pushing him down a dark path. He stands, pushing aside the scroll. If I'm going to do this, I need a plan. Konoha likely still has the ring Hidan used, or maybe pieces of Kakuzu's masks, or Deidara's clay. They stored them after the war for research or sealing. That means I have to infiltrate the village or track down these artifacts from other sources. He can't shake the feeling that he's treading the line between hero and monster, but he steels himself. They made me the villain. I'll become what they fear if it means I can protect myself, and one day make them see their mistake. He takes a deep breath, letting the night air fill his lungs. Then he glances out a broken window. Clouds drift across a waning moon, casting pale light on the crumbling walls. This is only the beginning. Days pass. Word spreads across the land of fire. Naruto Uzumaki is wanted for treason. Bounties appear, posted in smaller towns. Rewards offered to any who can capture or kill him. Some of the smaller clans debate whether to harbor him or turn him in. Gossip flourishes among civilians, painting Naruto as the once hero who's fallen from grace. Naruto, meanwhile, travels discreetly, avoiding main roads. He's learned to move like a ghost, slipping through forests He's pulled the hood of his cloak low over his face whenever he enters small villages for supplies. One late evening, he reaches a run-down inn near the old trade route. He slips inside, asking for a room. The innkeeper eyes him suspiciously. Naruto says nothing more, slides a few coins across the counter, and heads to his room. He locks the door behind him, scanning the humble space. A single bed, a table, a small window overlooking the dusty street. He draws the curtains, sets down his pack, and notices how thin he's grown. He's been pushing himself, rarely eating full meals. Fatigue tugs at him. He almost misses the old days, the bowls of ramen at Ichiraku, the carefree nights joking with friends. But that life feels distant now. A knock at the door startles him. He tenses, chakra coiling, prepared for another ambush. "Who is it?" he demands quietly. A hesitant female voice answers, "Sorry to bother you, sir. Just wanted to bring some extra blankets. The nights get cold." Naruto frowns. It's unusual for an innkeeper or staff to bring extra blankets unasked. He approaches slowly. With caution, he opens the door a crack. A young woman stands there, balancing a small stack of folded blankets. She's wearing a worn kimono, her expression shy. "I'm Rei," she says softly. "I noticed you had no coat. Thought you might need these." Naruto examines her carefully, sensing no immediate threat. He opens the door a bit more. "Thanks." She offers a kind smile, steps inside, and sets the blankets on the bed. Her eyes flick to him briefly, curiosity evident. "You're traveling alone, right?" He nods curtly, trying not to appear too guarded, "Just passing through." She lingers. "I don't mean to pry, but you must have heard the rumors about a man on the run from Konoha. They say he's dangerous, that he betrayed the village." Naruto's stomach twists. He maintains a neutral expression. "I might have. Townsfolk love gossip." Rei fidgets with her sleeve. Do you believe the rumors?" He hesitates. Something in her tone suggests she's not convinced by the official story. He wonders if she suspects who he is. "I think there's more to it than meets the eye." She nods slowly, eyes distant. "My younger brother once served in the shinobi forces. He died in the war. But he spoke so highly of Naruto Uzumaki, said he was a hero who saved countless lives, brought hope, so I can't believe he's just turned evil all of a sudden." A pang of guilt and sadness stabs through Naruto. He recalls countless faces of those who admired him, who looked up to him. Now, most believe he's turned traitor. But here's one person who doubts the lies. He presses his lips together. "I'm sorry for your loss." She smiles faintly, tears glistening. "Thank you." Then she bows, heading for the door. "If you need anything, let me know. And don't worry about the rumors in this town. Most people here keep to themselves." He nods, watching her leave. As the door closes, he exhales. Briefly, he considers the kindness she showed. A small ray of warmth in a sea of betrayal. That night, he sleeps better than he has in days. The following afternoon, Naruto checks out of the inn, cloak hood pulled low. He quietly thanks Rei, who simply smiles and wishes him safe travels. Her sincerity touches him in a way he hadn't expected. He steps onto the dusty road, passing a few merchants. In the distance, storm clouds gather, rumbling ominously. He moves on, heading toward the place indicated by the scroll's clues. A dilapidated hideout once used by Orochimaru, then briefly by the Akatsuki. If his memory serves, it's a labyrinth of tunnels carved into a mountainside, rumored to still contain old documents and tools. Just as he nears the path leading into the foothills, lightning splits the sky. Rain cascades in sheets. He trudges on, cloak quickly soaking through. Thunder booms. The environment grows dark and foreboding. Fitting, he thinks, for the path he's about to walk. Eventually, the mouth of a cave looms before him, partially hidden by overgrowth. Broken planks nailed across the entrance read, "Danger. Keep out." Naruto tears them away with a shrug. He ignites a small flame of chakra in his palm to light his way. The cave's interior smells of mold and old earth. Dripping water echoes against stone walls. He moves deeper, occasionally spotting scuff marks or fragments that suggest people once used these tunnels. The wind howls, and the darkness presses in. He finds a half-collapsed corridor leading to a rusted metal door. He forces it open, stepping into what looks like a makeshift lab. Broken glass, toppled shelves. A few tattered scrolls scattered across the floor. He picks one up. It's blank, likely from age or decay. Another is half-burnt. Then, in the corner, he sees a stone chest, partially broken. Inside are fragments of clay figurines, the same type Deidara used for his explosive art. Naruto's heart quickens. He carefully lifts a piece. It's shaped like a tiny bird with a folded wing. Even after all these years, he can sense faint chakra traces. He recalls the scroll's instructions. Relics of each Akatsuki member. Deidara's clay was definitely unique. This could be what he needs. He places it into a small container, sealing it carefully. Lightning flashes outside, illuminating the chamber through cracks in the ceiling. He checks around for any other possible relics. A half-shredded cloak with red clouds rests near a collapsed table. It's too degraded to be of use, though. He does find a chunk of charred parchment bearing the scrawled symbol for art, presumably Deidara's. He pockets that as well. Just as he's about to leave, he senses movement behind him. Instantly, he readies a kunai, scanning the darkness. A figure emerges. A young woman in a damp traveling cloak. She's breathing heavily, as though she's been running. Her hair, long and dark, clings to her face from the rain. Naruto eyes her warily. She lifts her hands to show she's unarmed. Sorry to startle you. I've been tracking you for days. Naruto's grip tightens. Who are you? Another hunter nin? She shakes her head. No, I swear. My name's Karen. I used to be part of Orochimaru's forces, then Taka with Sasuke. I recognize your chakra. Naruto lowers the kunai slightly. Karen, you were with Sasuke? She nods quickly, stepping closer, water dripping onto the floor. Yes. After the war, we all went our separate ways. I heard rumors that Konoha turned on you. I didn't believe it at first, but then I confirmed it with my own eyes. I saw wanted posters with your face. Naruto's chest tightens. So, are you here to collect the bounty? She hesitates. No, I'm here because, well, Sasuke's gone, and I have no loyalty to Konoha. I want to see if the rumors are true, that you're planning something big. Something to strike back at the village that betrayed you. He doesn't confirm or deny. Why do you care? Her gaze is intense. Because I'm tired of being used. Orochimaru used me. Sasuke used me. The 5 great nations used me. If you're building a new path, I want in. She looks at him with a mix of desperation and determination. I can sense chakra. I have healing abilities. I can be useful to you. All I ask is that you don't toss me aside when it's convenient. Naruto studies her, mind whirling. He's not sure if he can trust anyone at this point, but Karen's sincerity is palpable. She seems genuinely disillusioned, and her ability to sense chakra might be invaluable. A flicker of old camaraderie surfaces in him at the thought of forging alliances again. Still, he can't be naive. Finally, he nods. All right. You can tag along for now, but don't get in my way. She exhales in relief. Thank you. He turns to the relics he's collected, stowing them carefully. Karen watches him curiously. You're collecting pieces of Akatsuki gear? Naruto glances at her. Some research that might help me level the playing field. Konoha wants me gone, but I won't go quietly. Karen's eyes flicker with curiosity. I've heard rumors about some forbidden jutsu that harnesses the combined powers of. He cuts her off. Don't ask. It's complicated. Let's move. This place might collapse on us if we stay too long. They pick their way back to the tunnel, leaving behind the remnants of a dark history. As they emerge into the storm, lightning reveals 2 silhouettes side by side. Naruto and Karen, an unlikely alliance forming in the downpour. Night finds them in a small makeshift camp in a sheltered alcove. Naruto shares bits of his plan, though he's cautious with details. Karen offers intelligence. She's heard that Konoha's not the only village eyeing Naruto's bounty. Hidden Stone and Hidden Cloud might also be involved. She warns him that it's getting more dangerous by the day. While she speaks, Naruto listens with a mix of anger and resolve. He can't ignore how quickly the world turned on him. The fire inside him grows hotter, fueled by betrayal. He vows to become strong enough that no one can ever threaten him again. Karen leans closer, the glow from their small fire highlighting the determined set of her features. So what's next? Naruto's eyes harden. I find the rest of these relics. Then I do the ritual. After that, I'll be unstoppable. Her breath catches. And if that changes you? If it twists your mind, the way so many forbidden jutsu do? He hesitates, staring into the flames. I won't let it. I've carried a demon inside me my whole life, and I never let it break me. This won't be any different. Karen studies him, nodding slowly. All right. I'll help you. We'll need more than just chakra relics, though. If you plan to stand against multiple villages, it might be good to gather allies. People who are disillusioned or loyal to you personally. Naruto's face tightens. The concept of raising an army or forming a rogue faction is jarring. But he's already considered that he might not be able to do this entirely alone. I'll cross that bridge when I find it. A faint smile touches her lips. Then I'm with you. A slight blush warms Naruto's cheeks as he realizes this is the first real companionship he's felt since the betrayal. He nods, grateful in his own guarded way. Thank you. The storm rages on, wind howling through the rocky alcove, but for once, Naruto doesn't feel so alone in the darkness. Meanwhile, back in Konoha, Shikamaru paces in Tsunade's office. She's returned from her diplomatic trip, and he's briefing her on the council's actions. Tsunade slams her hand on the desk, voice trembling with fury. They exiled Naruto? They tried to arrest him on false charges? Shikamaru nods grimly. Yes. And the council's not listening to reason. The daimyo is backing them, too, calling Naruto a threat. Tsunade curses under her breath. That idiot council. They're throwing away the village's biggest protector. And for what? Paranoia. Shikamaru sighs. They see him as too powerful to control. They think if they don't remove him, eventually he'll become a danger. It's become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Tsunade clenches her fists. I should have never left. Damn it. We have to fix this before it's too late. Her gaze drifts to the window, to the stone faces of past Hokage carved into the cliff. Her heart aches at the thought of Naruto, alone and betrayed. She wonders if he can ever forgive them, or if he's already too far gone. Out in a remote stretch of wilderness, Naruto finishes packing up camp with Karen. The next target is a site rumored to contain remnants of Sasori's puppets. Perhaps the next piece in his quest. Lightning still flashes in the distance, though the storm has eased. The world feels charged, as if waiting for a cataclysmic shift. Naruto stands straight, scanning the horizon. His eyes reflect fierce determination tempered by heartbreak. He whispers under his breath, "You wanted me gone, but I won't vanish quietly." He takes the first step on this new, treacherous path. The betrayal has lit a fire in him, forging a resolve deeper than any he's known. He plans to gather the powers of the Akatsuki, become an unstoppable force, and make the world, the entire shinobi system, face the consequences of turning on him. Karen follows, a silent vow in her eyes. She'll stay by his side, for better or worse. On that rain-soaked morning, as thunder rumbles overhead, Naruto Uzumaki's old life, the life of the beloved hero, finally falls away. In its place, a new legend begins. The lines are drawn, the stakes are set, and the greatest power the shinobi world has ever seen is on the verge of awakening. Chapter 2. Unsealed shadow. Late afternoon sunlight slants across a jagged mountain range. The clouds hover low, painting everything in a stormy gray-blue. Naruto trudges through rocky terrain, Karen following several steps behind. They move quietly, senses sharp. This region is said to contain the remnants of Sasori's abandoned puppet workshop, or at least what's left of it after his defeat long ago. A stiff wind cuts through the cliffs. The path narrows. Karen checks the faint map sketched on a worn scrap of parchment. If the intel is right, we should see an entrance to a cave system just beyond that ridge. Naruto glances at her, nods. Let's pick up the pace. They continue uphill. Pebbles slide underfoot, making the climb precarious. Every so often, Naruto spots a makeshift sign or scattered debris that might be from traveling merchants who once dared to pass this way. But now, the route is deserted. Rumors about this place, haunted by old puppet designs and traps, Keep travelers away. A few minutes later, they reach the crest of a rocky ledge overlooking a hidden valley. Tucked into the far side is a jagged opening in the mountainside, half concealed by scrubby shrubs. Smoke from old cooking fires has blackened the stone near the entrance, though the wind and rain have mostly washed it away. Naruto steadies himself against a boulder. That's got to be it. Karen nods, pushing red hair out of her eyes. Let's go. But be careful. Sasori was notorious for leaving traps in his hideouts. Naruto forms a single shadow clone. The clone darts forward to scout. He and Karen wait, scanning the entrance for movement or hidden seals. Moments later, the clone signals them from inside. All clear so far. They approach cautiously. The scent of damp earth wafts out. The tunnel beyond the entrance is cramped and chiseled from rough stone. Dim light from the setting sun barely reaches a few meters in. Naruto ignites a small orb of chakra in his palm, the glow revealing a corridor lined with twisted wooden beams. Karen wrinkles her nose. Smells like something died in here. Naruto sighs. Wouldn't be surprised if there are old puppet parts rotting away. Let's keep moving. They step deeper. The corridor splits in two directions. Naruto places a hand on the left wall, concentrating. A faint pulse of leftover chakra resonates through the stone. He follows it, leading Karen down a winding passage that slopes downward. At length, they stumble into a wide cavern. Broken puppet limbs, rusted metal frames, and collapsed wooden structures litter the floor. Shelves carved into the walls hold shattered glass jars, half filled with suspicious powders or dyes. Everywhere, a thin layer of dust coats the remains of Sasori's workshop. Naruto lifts the chakra orb higher. We're looking for anything imbued with Sasori's personal chakra. Maybe puppet cores, hidden scrolls, anything that might contain his essence. Karen adjusts her glasses, scanning the room with her heightened chakra sensing. She points to a far corner behind an overturned workbench. That area feels different. I'm picking up some leftover energy. Naruto moves toward it, carefully stead debris. He finds a crumpled puppet torso. Its lacquered shell is cracked, revealing a complex arrangement of gears and compartments inside. He gently touches it, feeling a tingle. This might be part of Sasori's main puppet body. The one he used before turning himself entirely into a puppet. Karen crouches beside him, studying the mechanism. I can sense traces of his chakra. It's faint, but definitely there. Naruto withdraws a storage scroll from his bag. That's enough for what I need. He presses the puppet piece against the scroll, performing a sealing jutsu. The object vanishes in a puff of chakra smoke. Karen glances around. There might be more. Let's not leave anything behind. They spend the next several minutes rummaging through the wreckage, collecting small fragments with Sasori's unique signature. Pieces of wooden limbs, segments of chakra threads, and a half-burnt puppet blueprint. Naruto seals them all away. At one point, they discover a collapsed wall concealing a narrow alcove. Inside is a battered chest containing jars of puppet poison. Karen's nose wrinkles. Careful. That poison can still be lethal. Naruto considers it. Might be worth taking a bit. Sasori's poison was legendary. Could be useful, or at least relevant for the ritual. Karen grimaces but helps him seal a single jar. The rest they leave untouched. They wrap up their search. Karen stands, brushing dust off her clothes. I think that's the last of it. Naruto's about to agree when the hairs on the back of his neck prickle. He spins around, scanning the dimly lit cavern. We're not alone. A flicker of movement at the cavern entrance. Shadows shift. Then, a figure steps forward. A kunoichi in a dark cloak, face partially obscured. She lifts her hands in a gesture of non-aggression. Easy, Naruto. I'm not here to fight. He tenses, chakra flaring. Who are you? She steps into the light. It's a woman with wavy brown hair, sharp eyes, and a Konoha forehead protector with a slash through it. An X-Leaf shinobi. She speaks softly. My name is Aiko. I heard rumors you were gathering Akatsuki artifacts. I've come to offer my help. Karen moves closer to Naruto, suspicious. Why would you help? And how did you find us? Aiko lifts her chin. I've been on the run from Konoha for years. I deserted after they tried to scapegoat me for a failed mission. Sound familiar? I've been Let's just say I have my own sources. When I heard about Naruto's situation, I knew he might need allies, or at least information. Naruto studies her posture. She doesn't seem hostile, though he remains wary. What kind of information? Aiko's voice lowers. Konoha is tightening its net. They've officially put a high bounty on you and are strong-arming neighboring villages to assist. Mercenaries and bounty hunters are crawling all over the land of rivers, the land of earth, even the land of wind. You won't be able to move freely soon. Karen's eyes narrow. Great. That means we're going to have to change our plans. Naruto lowers his chakra orb slightly, but he doesn't drop his guard. And you're telling us this why? Aiko offers a small, mirthless smile. Because if you succeed, if you really do gather the powers of the Akatsuki, maybe you can take down the corrupt leadership in Konoha. If that happens, some of us exiled shinobi might finally see justice. Silence lingers. Naruto and Karen exchange glances. Finally, Naruto nods slowly. Fine. We could use intel. Just know I'm not looking to start a war with the entire world. Only those who tried to destroy me. Aiko inclines her head. Understood. But be careful, things are moving faster than you think. She steps to the side. If you need a safe place to lay low, there's an old hideout in the hills north of here. It belonged to a minor rebel group that once opposed the shinobi villages. It's been abandoned for years, but I've checked it recently, still secure, with basic supplies. Naruto glances at Karen, who shrugs. We could use a safe house. He turns back to Aiko. You'll take us there? Aiko nods. Follow me, and if you sense any trap, you're free to do as you please. I'm not suicidal. Naruto offers a wry smirk. Fair enough. They gather their things and follow Aiko out of the cavern. The setting sun's glow meets them at the entrance. They move quickly, scaling the rocky slopes and descending the other side of the mountain range. At one point, they spot a hawk circling overhead, likely a messenger bird. Aiko mutters that Konoha is using all means to locate Naruto's position. Hours later, under the light of a waning moon, they reach a small valley dotted with pine trees. Hidden behind a rocky outcropping is a modest structure built into the hillside, wooden beams reinforcing a small tunnel. Aiko unlocks a crudely hidden door and leads them inside. The hideout is sparse. A single large room with a fireplace, a couple of bedrolls, crates of non-perishable food, and a corner for weapon storage. Dust covers nearly every surface, but it's serviceable. Aiko takes off her cloak, dusting it off. She's tall, lean, and carries herself with the subtle tension of someone always prepared for danger. Karen studies her from across the room, arms folded. Naruto sets his pack down, exhaling. It's not the 5-star hot springs, but it'll do. Aiko cracks a brief smile. You can rest here safely for a while. I doubt anyone will come looking in this old place. Karen checks a corner where cooking utensils are stored. She finds a kettle and some rice. Let's at least make something to eat. I'm tired of living off rations. Naruto nods. Yeah. Good idea. He notices Aiko lingering near the entrance, as if unsure where she stands with them. He motions for her to sit. She hesitates, then pulls over a small stool. Naruto takes in the quiet hush of the hideout. For a moment, he remembers nights in Konoha with friends, warm laughter and shared meals. The memory stings, reminding him of how drastically life has changed. Karen lights a small fire in the simple hearth. Soon, the crackle of flames and the smell of rice cooking fill the air. They settle into an uneasy companionship. Outside, the wind rustles through the pines. After they eat, Naruto leans against the wall. So, Aiko, you said you've been on the run for years? She nods, eyes flickering with old pain. Yes. The village pinned the blame for a high-profile mission failure on me. I had no choice but to flee. I've survived by staying off the radar and doing odd jobs wherever I can. Karen glances at her. Sounds familiar to what Naruto's going through. Aiko gives a bitter laugh. Konoha's council has done this sort of thing more times than people realize. If something goes wrong, they'd rather find a scapegoat than accept their own shortcomings. That's why I was so quick to believe the rumors about Naruto's betrayal were fabricated. Naruto's eyes shadow over. They're not even trying to hide their intentions now. They wanted me gone. Silence settles. Then Aiko leans forward. If you don't mind me asking, What exactly is your plan? I know you're collecting remnants of the Akatsuki for some reason. Are you really trying to unify their powers? Naruto trades a glance with Karen. He's been tight-lipped about the details, but maybe he needs trust to gain trust. There's a sealing ritual described in some old scrolls. It outlines a way to tap into the residual chakras of the Akatsuki members. Sort of a forced synergy of their unique abilities. Aiko's eyes widen. That's unbelievably dangerous and powerful. Naruto's expression is grim. I'm aware, but I don't see many other options. Konoha has got half the continent hunting me. If I don't become stronger than any of them, I won't survive. And if I do survive, maybe I can tear down the corruption that forced me into this. Karen sighs. I'm at he needs. We already have some of Deidara's explosive clay and fragments of Sasori's puppets. Aiko exhales. You're missing a lot, though. Itachi, Kisame, Kakuzu, Hidan, Konan, not to mention the Rinnegan from Pain. Naruto's jaw tightens at the mention of Itachi. I know. Some of that might be impossible to get. But I'm going to try. Karen fiddles with a loose thread on her sleeve. We might be able to find something of Itachi's in the Uchiha compounds or in Konoha's archives. Kisami's sword, Samahata, ended up in the Hidden Cloud, I think, after the war. Hidan was trapped underground by Shikamaru. Kakuzu's remains were studied by the Shinobi Alliance Medical Division, maybe they kept samples. Aiko purses her lips. And Konan's paper jutsu, she died near a megacure, if I recall. Maybe there are remains of her technique somewhere in that city. Naruto nods, gaze distant. That's a lot of ground to cover. But I'm not alone anymore. He looks pointedly at Karen, then at Aiko. If we pool our intel, we might figure out a path forward. Aiko sets her jaw. I'll help. Not just for me, but for every shinobi who was betrayed by the system. But we need to be smart about it. If we go blundering into 5 different villages, we'll be caught. Naruto glances at Karen, who shrugs. We'll have to split up tasks, maybe gather allies. But who can we trust? Aiko closes her eyes in thought. I know a few people. Rogue ninjas are small-time mercenaries who hate the major villages. They might be persuaded to help for the right cause, or the right price. Also, there are some ex-sound ninjas scattered around, remnants of Orochimaru's empire, who never got reabsorbed into the system. They're loyal to no one. Money and power talk. Naruto clenches his fists. I never thought I'd see the day I'd rely on mercenaries, but that's what it's come to. Karen's voice is cautious. We should also consider the possibility of infiltration. If we can sneak into Konoha's archives, we might retrieve enough for the ritual in one go. They probably have Hidan's ring, Kakuzu's hearts or threads, something from Kisame. All that stuff was studied after the war. Naruto nods slowly, a spark of interest in his eyes. That's risky as hell, but if it works, we cut our search time drastically. Aiko stands. And risk being trapped. Konoha's forces will be doubled now that you're a wanted man. Plus, the daimyo's troops are stationed around the area. We'd have to plan it very carefully. Naruto sweeps a hand across his face, the stress evident. One step at a time. We'll figure this out. For now, let's just survive. I need a bit of rest. They decide on a watch rotation for the night. Karen takes the first shift, perched near the door, while Naruto and Aiko settle onto makeshift bedding. The glow of the fire flickers against the stone walls. Outside, wind rustles through the trees. Moments before Naruto drifts to sleep, he feels a pang of longing for simpler days. But the memory is distant, overshadowed by the stark reality of betrayal and the uncertain road ahead. Morning light filters through a narrow gap in the hideout's entrance. Naruto wakes, rubbing his eyes. Karen is still on guard, but Aiko's bedroll is empty. He spots her outside, sitting on a log, scanning the surrounding area. He steps out, the crisp mountain air biting at his face. Aiko turns her head, nodding a greeting. We're clear for now. Naruto notices she's holding a small cloth in her hands, staring at it. She tucks it away when he approaches, as if embarrassed. A keepsake, she says quietly, by way of explanation. He doesn't pry. Instead, he gazes at the pine trees, their green needles shimmering with morning dew. We should move soon. Staying in one place too long is risky. Aiko stands. Agreed. I'll gather my things. Back inside, Karen readies a simple breakfast, dried fruit, leftover rice. As they eat, Naruto spreads out a rough map of the land of fire. "We're here," he says, pointing to a mountainous area near the border. "Konoha is to the southeast. That means if we're going to sneak in, we'd likely cross the border of the fire country carefully, then approach from a less guarded side." Karen studies the map, tapping a spot on the western flank of Konoha. The Hokage mountainside is obviously heavily guarded. The gates are no better. But the old drainage tunnels in the forest near the Nara clan territory, rumor is they're not well maintained anymore. Aiko leans in. "You're talking about the catacombs under the village? That's risky. They might be guarded or rigged with traps." Naruto shrugs. "We have to take a risk somewhere, unless we want to try forging an alliance with another great village, which seems unlikely." Karen rubs her forehead. "They'd just turn you in for a bounty. No one's going to risk pissing off the daimyo." Aiko crosses her arms. "I'm not completely against infiltration, but we need more intel. We need to know guard schedules, any new security measures. We can't just walk in blind." Naruto nods thoughtfully. "I might have a contact who can help with that." Karen arches an eyebrow. "Who?" He hesitates. "Tsunade. She might not be able to openly defy the council, but I know she wouldn't accept what they're doing. If anyone has insider info on security changes, it'd be her or Shizune." Aiko looks skeptical. "She's the 5th Hokage, and you're a wanted traitor. How would you even meet her without being caught?" Naruto sets his jaw. "I'm not sure yet, but Tsunade is loyal to me, or at least she was. She might risk a private meeting somewhere outside the village. If I can get a message to her." Karen nods slowly. "Might be worth trying, but it's a huge gamble." Aiko sighs. "Even if Tsunade wants to help, the council could be watching her. Any move on her part might blow your cover." Naruto looks up, determination lighting his gaze. "I'm done being afraid of them. If I can talk to Tsunade, I will. For now, let's at least start heading in that direction. Maybe we'll find a way to pass a message discreetly." They pack their gear. Aiko says she'll travel with them a while, but warns that if things get too hot, she may have to split off. Naruto respects her honesty. Soon, they're on the move, leaving the hideout behind. They keep to the tree line, mindful of any watchers. The day passes in relative silence, each of them alert to potential ambushes. By late afternoon, they reach a quiet riverside. The water rushes over rocks, forming a natural barrier. On the opposite bank is a narrow strip of land leading into a dense forest, the beginnings of fire country territory. They pause at the water's edge. Aiko looks across, scanning the far shore. "I don't see any immediate threats." Karen checks for chakra signatures. There's no one nearby. Naruto kneels, pressing his hand to the river's surface. He channels chakra, forming a walkway just under his feet. "Let's cross." They move quickly, stepping lightly across the swift current. The water churns around their ankles, but Naruto keeps the chakra stable. Once on the other side, they climb a small embankment and melt into the forest. Night falls by the time they set up a small camp, just a ring of stones and minimal fire, hidden under thick branches to mask the light. Aiko volunteers for the first watch, and Karen sets up a rough sleeping area. Naruto sits against a tree trunk, mind racing. This infiltration plan is reckless, but he doesn't see another way to gather everything he needs. If Tsunade is truly on his side, she could be the key. If not. He closes his eyes, forcing himself to rest. Distant moonlight filters through the forest canopy, casting silver shards on the undergrowth. Aiko stands watch, her expression distant. She occasionally glances back at Naruto's sleeping form, frowning. Something about S. raw sense of betrayal tugs at her. She remembers her own bitterness toward the village, the sting of false accusations. Part of her wonders if this path might lead to redemption for them both, or to destruction. Karen dozes off, arms folded. She's found a measure of trust in Naruto, having witnessed how fiercely he fights for his own beliefs, even as the world turns on him. But she also sees the darkness that betrayal can seed. She recalls how Sasuke fell deeper and deeper into revenge. She prays Naruto won't go that far. In Konoha, Shikamaru stands on a rooftop overlooking the quiet village. The night is serene, a deceptive calm. He smokes a cigarette, tension evident in the tightness of his jaw. His mind churns with regrets over Naruto's exile. He told Tsunade everything he knew, but the council is unstoppable for now. At the same time, in a high-security chamber within the Hokage's administrative building, Kaharu and Homura confer with the daimyo's emissary. The official unrolls a new directive. All shinobi forces are ordered to detain or eliminate Naruto Uzumaki on sight. The entire fire country is effectively closed to him. Morning finds Naruto's group pushing deeper into the forest. It's quieter here than he remembers. Birds flutter overhead, but there's an uneasy hush, as if nature itself senses conflict brewing. They keep a steady pace. Eventually, they come upon a fork in the road. One path leads toward the heart of fire country, the other angles southeast, closer to Konoha's outskirts. Naruto halts, scanning the distance. If we keep going straight, we'll run right into the patrolled zones. Let's veer southeast, try to skirt around the main routes. Karen nods. Fewer patrols, but we'll still need to be careful. Aiko adjusts her cloak. Let me scout ahead. She vanishes into the foliage, moving silently. Minutes later, she returns. There's a small settlement ahead, a cluster of huts. I didn't see any uniformed shinobi, but that doesn't mean they're not in disguise. Naruto nods. Let's stay low profile. Grab supplies if we can, then continue on. They approach the settlement, which looks more like a rundown farming hamlet than a village. Fields of tall grass and a few muddy paths. A handful of villagers move about, wearing simple clothing. When Naruto, Karen, and Aiko step out of the forest, a few heads turn, but no alarm is raised. They head to a modest stall selling rice and dried vegetables. Naruto keeps his hood up. The merchant eyes them suspiciously. Travelers? Not many pass through here. Naruto forces a polite smile. We're heading south, need some supplies. The merchant shrugs. Fair enough. He prepares small bundles of rice and beans. You have coin? Naruto hands over some money. As the merchant sorts the change, he casually remarks, strange times. Heard about that big bounty for the Leaf's trader. Karen glances at Naruto from the corner of her eye. They stay silent. Aiko pretends to be interested in a stack of produce. The merchant continues, used to be war, now it's just hunts for rogue ninjas. Our fields get trampled by passing soldiers. Don't know who to trust. Naruto's jaw tightens. Sounds tough. The merchant snorts. That's an understatement. He hands Naruto the supplies. Safe travels. Watch your back. Never know who might be after that bounty. They mutter thanks and move away from the stall. Once out of earshot, Naruto exhales shakily. That's how widespread this is. Even farmers in the middle of nowhere know about the bounty. Aiko nods. We should get moving. They slip back into the forest, traveling another hour or so. Eventually, they find a secluded glade to rest in. A small stream winds through the grass, offering fresh water. While Karen refills their canteens, Aiko approaches Naruto. I've been thinking, if we're going to contact Tsunade, we need a messenger hawk or something similar. But any standard channel can be intercepted. You said you trust her, but the rest of Konoha is compromised. Naruto rubs his chin. We could use a code. Something only Tsunade would recognize. Maybe referencing old training or a certain passphrase. Aiko nods. But we'd still need a hawk or a summoning method that can find her without going through the official lines. Karen returns, overhearing. Naruto, what about your toad summons? Could you send a message through them? He blinks. Possibly. If Gamakichi is available, he could carry a sealed letter directly to Tsunade. But if Konoha's barrier sensors detect a summoning, they might track it. Aiko considers that. We can move close enough to the village so the toad doesn't have far to go. That might reduce detection. Naruto draws a breath. It's risky, but time is running out. Let's do it. They decide to push closer. By late afternoon, they reach a thick stretch of woodland that Naruto recognizes, old training grounds on the edge of fire country. He spent some time here with Jiraiya years ago. Aiko scans the area. We're maybe half a day from Konoha if we move fast. We should set up camp and try the summoning at night. They find a hidden spot under a canopy of vines. As night falls, Naruto carefully writes a letter to Tsunade in code, referencing old events she would remember, like the time he convinced her to return to Konoha, or the bet she lost to him. He includes a brief note about wanting to meet near Tanzaku Town ruins if she's willing. Once the message is sealed, he prepares a small clearing for the summoning. Karen and Aiko keep watch while he forms the necessary hand signs, biting his thumb to draw blood. Summoning jutsu. There's a burst of smoke. Gamakichi appears, blinking his large amphibian eyes. Naruto? Long time no see, buddy. Naruto smiles ruefully. Hey, Gamakichi. Sorry about this, but I need a favor, it's urgent. The orange toad puffs out his chest. Shoot. Naruto explains the situation briefly, handing over the sealed letter. Deliver this straight to Tsunade. Don't let anyone else intercept it. Can you do that without the village sensors detecting you? Gamakichi taps his chin with a webbed finger. Might be tricky, but I'm smaller than some of the older toads, so I can slip in. I'll do my best. Naruto's heart clenches with gratitude. Thanks, I owe you one. Gamakichi salutes, tucking the letter away. You got it. Stay safe, Naruto. With a pop of smoke, he vanishes. The clearing grows still again. Naruto releases a tense breath, wiping sweat from his brow. Aiko, crouching nearby, looks up. Now we wait. Karen brushes a stray leaf from her hair. But how long? Tsunade might take days to respond, if she responds at all. Naruto settles onto a fallen log, arms on his knees. We'll give it a few days. If there's no word, we try plan B. Aiko raises an eyebrow. Which is? Naruto shrugs. Breaking into Konoha ourselves. Across the night sky, Gamakichi leaps from tree to tree, well outside the usual roads. He slips through the outer barrier with minimal chakra output, hoping the sensor squads are less vigilant this late. The lights of Konoha glow in the distance, like scattered fireflies in the dark. He lands on a rooftop, scanning the quiet streets below. Shinobi patrols move in pairs, alert. The toad muffles his chakra signature to a minimum, bounding from building to building with stealth he learned from traveling with Naruto. Finally, he reaches the Hokage residence. Tsunade's office light is on, despite the late hour. Gamakichi peers through a window. He sees Tsunade at her desk, writing furiously. Shizune stands beside her, looking anxious. Slipping inside through a small vent, Gamakichi creeps behind a bookshelf. He times his moment, then hops onto the corner of the desk. Shizune yelps, nearly dropping a stack of papers. Tsunade spins around, eyes wide. Gamakichi. She whispers, heart racing. What are you? He holds out the Senaruto. Tsunade's face goes pale, then floods with relief and worry. She motions for Shizune to close the door. She breaks the seal, scanning the coded message. Shizune stands by, glancing nervously at the door. Tsunade deciphers enough to grasp the essence. Naruto wants a clandestine meeting. The mention of Tanzaku Town ruins is crystal clear. She reads his words about the council's betrayal, the attempts on his life, and the quest for old Akatsuki relics. Her hands tremble. Damn fools, she mutters. They've pushed him too far. Shizune leans in. Lady Tsunade, are you going to meet him? The council? Tsunade's eyes blaze. I am. The council be damned. Naruto doesn't deserve this. We'll keep it quiet. She scribbles a response, sealing it. She hands it to Gamakichi. Get this back to him. If anyone tries to stop you, vanish. Don't let them catch you. Gamakichi nods. Understood. Tsunade gently touches his shoulder. Tell him I'm sorry. And I'll do whatever I can to help. He salutes, tucking the reply under his tongue for safekeeping. With a hop, he's gone, slipping back out the vent. Shizune quickly cracks open a window to watch him vanish into the night. Tsunade leans on the desk, eyes glistening with frustration. We have to be extremely careful. If the council catches wind of this, they'll arrest me, too. Shizune places a hand on her shoulder. We'll figure something out. Dawn breaks in the forest clearing where Naruto waits, half dozing by the dying embers of a campfire. Karen is resting against a tree, and Aiko is cleaning a kunai. Suddenly, a puff of smoke pops beside them, and Gamakichi appears. Naruto snaps awake, heart pounding. You're back. Did she get the message? Gamakichi nods, spitting out a small sealed note. She did. She told me to tell you she's sorry. She'll help however she can. Naruto tears open the note, eyes scanning Tsunade's coded response. It's a short, urgent acceptance of the proposed meeting. She wants him at the ruins of Tanzaku Town in 3 days' time, just before sunset. Relief washes over Naruto. He closes his eyes briefly, a flicker of hope lighting his chest. Thank you, Gamakichi. The toad puffs out his cheeks. Stay safe, boss. I'll be on standby if you need me again. With a quick wave, he disappears in a puff of chakra smoke. Karen and Aiko move closer. Naruto holds up the note. She agreed. We have to get to Tanzaku Town ruins in 3 days. Aiko glances at the sky, calculating distances. We can make it if we leave immediately and keep a good pace. Naruto stands, already gathering his things. Then let's go. I need her help. They set off at once. The journey is grueling, forging through less traveled roads and dense forests to avoid detection. The second night, they rest in a hollow beneath an uprooted tree. Rain pounds above them, thunder rumbling. On the morning of the third day, they near the outskirts of the old Tanzaku town. Years ago, the place was partly destroyed by Orochimaru. It was never fully rebuilt, so it stands as a cluster of abandoned buildings and crumbling walls overgrown with weeds. Naruto leads the way, carefully navigating broken streets. Weeds poke through cracks in the stone. A dusty, forlorn atmosphere hangs over the ruins. He glances at the sun, judging they have a few hours before sunset. They choose a half-collapsed structure that might have been an inn once. The roof is partially intact, offering shelter from prying eyes. They wait there, tension thick. As dusk approaches, Naruto steps outside, scanning the perimeter. Karen stands guard on one side, Aiko on the other. The sky glows with a fiery orange as the sun dips below distant hills. Shadows stretch across the debris. Time creeps by. Naruto starts to worry. Then, faint footsteps echo through an alley. He stiffens, forming a small Rasengan in case it's a trap. A shape appears. A slender figure wearing a hooded cloak. Karen tenses, but Naruto recognizes the aura almost immediately. Tsunade, he breathes. She steps into the light, pulling back her hood. Silver strands have started to appear in her blonde hair, and worry lines crease her forehead. Yet her eyes still blaze with that familiar fire. She looks at Naruto, her expression a mix of relief and heartbreak. Brat, she murmurs, voice trembling. What the hell did they do to you? Naruto drops the Rasengan, fists clenched at his sides. He doesn't trust himself to speak. Emotions threaten to spill over. Memories of her faith in him, how she believed he'd be a great Hokage someday, and now. Tsunade steps closer, scanning his face. I'm sorry, she says in a hushed tone. I left on that diplomatic trip. By the time I got back, they'd practically declared you an enemy of the state. Naruto's voice is quiet, edged with bitterness. They betrayed me. They tried to have me arrested, or worse. I had no choice but to run. Tsunade's eyes glisten. I know. And I've been fighting them ever since, but the council has too much influence now. They're leveraging the daimyo's paranoia, painting you as a threat. Aiko and Karen remain in the background, watching carefully. Tsunade glances at them, recognition flickering in her eyes at Karen. She doesn't comment, returning her focus to Naruto. Tell me what you need, Tsunade says, jaw set. I'll do whatever I can to help. But we have to be careful. Naruto takes a steadying breath. We need access to certain artifacts kept in Konoha's archives. Pieces from the old Akatsuki. I also need a safe route in, or at least knowledge of guard rotations, so I can slip in and out. Tsunade looks troubled. I might be able to get you that information, but infiltration is extremely dangerous right now. They've tightened security, especially around the artifact vault. It's locked down with layered seals. Naruto squares his shoulders. I know it's dangerous, but I won't let them hunt me like an animal. I need the power to defend myself, and once I have it, I'll tear down the rot in Konoha's leadership. Tsunade studies him. There's a steely resolve in his eyes, something that worries her. Naruto, be careful with that power. Don't lose yourself like so many others have. His gaze shifts, momentarily conflicted. I won't, I'm still me. She exhales. All right. I'll get you whatever info I can, but you can't wait too long to act. The longer you stay around Fire Country, the greater the chance you'll be cornered. He nods. Agreed. How will we contact you again? Tsunade removes a small scroll from inside her cloak. This is a specialized communication seal. If you pour a bit of chakra into it, it will send me a brief signal. We won't be able to exchange words directly, but I'll know you need me. I'll come to a preset location, somewhere we choose now. Naruto thinks quickly. Do you know the clearing where the old Sannin used to train outside the village? The one Jiraiya always took me to? Tsunade smirks sadly. I do. Meet me there when you have the intel. She presses the scroll into his hand. Naruto, watch your back. They're not the only ones after you. Some shinobi from other villages would love to collect that bounty. He grips the scroll, heart twisting with gratitude and sorrow. Thanks, and, Tsunade, be safe, if they suspect you. She nods. I can handle myself. Don't worry about me, brat. For a moment, neither speaks. Then Tsunade reaches out and pulls Naruto into a fierce hug. He stiffens, surprised, but then melts into the embrace. He can feel her trembling slightly. Just come back alive, you hear? She whispers. He swallows hard. I will. Tsunade steps back, donning her hood once more. She glances at Karen and Aiko. Look after him. He might be strong, but he's still an idiot sometimes. Aiko nods respectfully. Karen smirks. We know. With that, Tsunade turns and yawns. Naruto stands there, staring after her until the shadows swallow her form. Karen steps forward, voice quiet. That went better than expected. Aiko nods. At least we have a shot now. Naruto clutches the communication scroll. She'll help. I can count on her. They depart from the ruins, hearts a little lighter, though the weight of what lies ahead remains. In the fading twilight, they vanish into the wilds once again, determined to see this through, no matter the cost. Chapter End. Chapter 3. Allies and adversaries. A midday sun filters through shifting clouds. Naruto, Karen, and Aiko tread cautiously along a narrow forest path, well west of Konoha's borders. The air here is crisp, and the pine needles underfoot dampen their footsteps. They've been on the move since their meeting with Tsunade at the Tanzaku town ruins, never lingering too long in one spot, never risking detection. Naruto walks at the front, cloak draped over his shoulders. His expression is set in a determined grimace. Days have passed since Tsunade slipped back into the village, promising to gather intelligence about guard rotations and vault security. Waiting for her signal feels interminable, but Naruto knows they can't act blindly. Karen moves beside him, scanning the area for chakra signatures. So far, no sign of pursuers, she murmurs, pushing a lock of red hair behind her ear. Aiko trails slightly behind, eyes flicking from tree to tree. I still suggest we find a more secluded spot to wait for Tsunade's intel. Wandering around makes us vulnerable. Naruto slows, gaze drifting toward a break in the trees. Beyond the forest lies a sprawling meadow bathed in afternoon light. We can't stay too close to Konoha, he says quietly. If Tsunade's discovered helping me, she'll be arrested, too. Aiko nods. But do we have a safer hideout in mind? Naruto shakes his head. Not yet. We need a place that's off the main routes. Some old, forgotten corner where nobody looks twice. We might have to rely on local rumors or black market contacts. Karen steps ahead, pointing to a faint trail that slopes downward. Let's check that way. It looks less traveled. They descend into a shallow valley, the tree line thickening. Moss-covered stones and tangled roots make the path slippery. Light filters in patches, painting the forest floor in shifting patterns of gold and green. Before long, they reach a small stream. The water glimmers over smooth rocks, creating a gentle murmur. A fallen log forms a crude bridge. Naruto leads the way across, scanning for any sign of watchers. Halfway over, he senses something, an abrupt spike in chakra from the other side. He halts, hand snapping up in a warning gesture. Karen and Aiko freeze, eyes alert. Moments later, two figures emerge from behind thick bushes. They wear ragged cloaks and headbands with the symbols scratched off. One is a tall, gaunt man with mismatched armor. The other is a woman with short, spiky hair. Both have the hardened look of mercenaries. Naruto tenses. We don't want trouble. The man sneers, stepping onto a rock in the stream. Nor do we, unless you're carrying something of value. Karen's lips tighten. She senses the man's chakra, flickering with greed. Aiko slips a hand to her kunai pouch. The spiky-haired woman narrows her eyes at Naruto. That cloak, you're traveling incognito. And you've got a decent amount of chakra. You wouldn't happen to be the leaf trader everyone's talking about, would you? Naruto's heart kicks in his chest. He lowers his voice. Doesn't concern you. The gaunt man glances at his partner, then back at Naruto. High bounty on that guy's head. Big money from Konoha. Could set us up for life. Naruto feels Karen's tension spike. Aiko readies a kunai behind her back. The mood crackles with hostility. He locks eyes with the mercenaries, voice cold. You really want to try me? The woman smirks, summoning a small swirl of wind chakra around her palm. We'll see if you're worth the trouble. A rustle of movement. She lunges forward with surprising speed, aiming a wind-sheathed slash at Naruto's chest. He meets her strike barehanded, channeling his own chakra to blunt the blow. A shockwave ripples outward, sending a spray of water up from the stream. Karen leaps aside, letting out a curse, while Aiko shifts into a flanking position. The gaunt man forms a series of hand signs and releases a barrage of water needles. Naruto barely dodges, flicking a kunai to deflect a few. The woman presses in again, trying to seize the advantage while Naruto is off balance. Her wind chakra flares, slicing into the log bridge. Wood splinters. Naruto counters with a surge of Nine-Tails chakra swirling around his fist. The sheer force knocks her backwards, toppling her into shallow water. Aiko darts at the gaunt man, who steps back and weaves a jutsu that sends a serpent of water coiling through the air. Aiko grits her teeth, flipping over it with agile grace. She slashes a kunai across the man's arm. He hisses in pain. Karen stands to the side, ready to assist if anyone needs healing or if more enemies appear. She keeps her senses peeled for additional ambushers. Naruto locks eyes with the spiky-haired woman, who's already scrambling to her feet. A trickle of blood runs down her cheek. She glares, raising her arms. You're strong. Guess the rumors weren't exaggerated. Naruto's voice is steady. Walk away, you don't have to do this. She spits into the stream, face contorting with greed and anger. Not a chance, too many Ryo on the line. Lightning chakra crackles around her fists. Naruto braces himself. She lunges again, but this time he channels a fraction of the Kyuubi's chakra, letting the red aura envelop his body. Her fists collide with that cloak of energy, meeting an impenetrable barrier of power. He barely moves. She's the one forced back, arms vibrating painfully. She stares in shock at the swirling red aura. What the? Naruto exhales, controlling his fury. You asked for it. With a swift motion, he slams a palm strike into her stomach, sending her crashing into the stream bank. She groans, disoriented. Her partner, seeing this, tries to retreat. Aiko hurls a kunai at the gaunt man's back. It scrapes his shoulder. He yelps, stumbling. Naruto appears in front of him in an instant, eyes blazing. End this. The man drops to his knees, clutching his wounded arm. He looks up with fear. Wait, I surrender. Don't kill me. Naruto feels a pang of disgust. He steps back, letting the Nine-Tails aura subside. You try to collect a bounty on me, then beg for mercy? Karen approaches warily, glancing at the spiky-haired woman who's now slumped on the bank. She's dazed, but alive. We can't stay here, Karen mutters. More mercenaries could be nearby. Aiko eyes the pair. Should we tie them up? Naruto narrows his gaze at the trembling man. No time. They'll just slow us down. They got their lesson. He turns, moving to rejoin Karen on the log bridge. Aiko steps away from the mercenaries, kunai still in hand, just in case. We should go. They hurry across, leaving the two battered bounty hunters behind. Naruto can't shake the surge of anger that flared in that battle. How easily he tapped into the Kyuubi's power. Part of him remembers that he used to hold back to avoid harming allies. Now, after betrayal, he feels less hesitant to unleash it when threatened. Once safely away, they slow to catch their breath. Karen scans for more chakra signatures. I don't sense anyone else nearby. Aiko wipes sweat from her brow. That's good, but I have a feeling we'll see more of them the closer we get to Fire Country. This bounty has turned the entire region into a free-for-all. Naruto clenches his jaw. Then we'll need more allies, or at least safe passage. I'm tired of constantly looking over my shoulder. Karen perks up. You mentioned before THHER rogues or disillusioned shinobi who hate the big villages. Maybe it's time to actually do that. Aiko watches him carefully. If we're forming some kind of coalition, we need a base of operations. Some place that's defensible. Naruto's mind races. He vaguely recalls old strongholds from the war, or hidden outposts once used by the Akatsuki or Orochimaru. But many of those are compromised or in ruin. We might have to build from scratch. Or find a place so obscure that even the major villages wrote it off. Karen taps her chin. The Land of Claws has those canyon networks that are barely inhabited, or the outskirts of the Land of Rain. Though that's still under heavy watch because of a megacure. Naruto exhales. One thing at a time. Let's keep moving until Tsunade signals us with the info. Then, maybe we'll slip into Konoha, grab what we need, and disappear. Aiko nods. We'll figure out a base later, for now, survival. They push on, stepping into the dappled shadows of the forest once again. By nightfall, they find a secluded clearing shielded by towering evergreens. The ground is covered with soft needles, and a small brook trickles nearby. It's quiet enough to risk a small fire for warmth. Naruto sits near the crackling flames, glancing at his traveling companions. Karen is brushing dirt off her robes, while Aiko checks the perimeter. He thinks back to how quickly he's gone from trusting the entire village to trusting almost no one. Now, these two are the only ones he feels certain won't stab him in the back. He lifts a pot of water onto a makeshift tripod over the fire. They've managed to gather enough dried vegetables and rice for a simple meal. As the water heats, Karen joins him, settling onto a fallen log. She studies him out of the corner of her eye. You okay? You seemed angry earlier, she says softly. Naruto rests his elbows on his knees. I'm fine. I just hate that people come after me for a bounty. Like all I did for the world doesn't matter. Karen nods. They don't care about your past, just the money. Or they're afraid you'll become something unstoppable. He lapses into silence. The water bubbles. He dumps in the rice, stirring slowly. The rhythmic motion calms him a little. Karen watches, waiting for him to speak again. Finally, Naruto sighs. I'm sorry for dragging you into this mess. You and Aiko both. Karen waves a dismissive hand. I signed up for it. I chose this. After everything I went through with Orochimaru and Sasuke, I'm done being used. Better to fight for something real. Naruto manages a small smile. Thanks. Aiko slips back into the clearing, face unreadable. She drops a small pile of tinder near the fire. Perimeter's clear. No sign of those mercenaries. Karen ladles some half-cooked rice into tin cups. The three of them eat, the meal more practical than tasty. Afterward, they extinguish the fire and settle in for a night of broken sleep. In the darkness, Naruto dreams of Konoha, of the faces he once trusted, turned cold with betrayal. He sees flashbacks of the council chamber, the unreadable stares of the elders. Then he sees Tsunade, overshadowed by those same elders, powerless to stop them. The dream shifts to swirling images of the old Akatsuki, ghostly figures standing in a half-circle, their powers beckoning. He jerks awake, heart pounding. A sliver of moonlight seeps through the trees. Karen dozes nearby, leaning against a trunk. Aiko is on watch, perched on a low branch overhead, scanning the dark. Naruto closes his eyes, trying to steady his breathing. He can almost feel the pull of that forbidden ritual. He hasn't performed it yet. He's still gathering relics, but his mind is already haunted by the power it promises. Dawn brings a pale gray light. The trio breaks camp quickly, continuing their slow trek around the perimeter of Fire Country. Eventually, they plan to circle back toward the secret Sannin training grounds where Tsunade promised to meet them once she has intel. The land around them transitions to rolling hills dotted with wildflowers. A breeze sweeps the tall grasses, creating gentle waves of color. Normally, it would be a scenic vista. Once upon a time, Naruto might have stopped to admire it. Now, he's too focused on scanning for threats. Around midday, they crest a hill and spot a dilapidated stone watchtower in the distance. It's perched on a rocky rise, overgrown with vines. Wind whistles through its broken windows. Karen halts. Think we could use that as a temporary lookout? It might give us a vantage point. Naruto eyes the structure. If it's unoccupied, sure. Let's check. They approach with caution. As they near, they notice signs of recent activity. Footprints in the dirt, fresh cuts in the vines blocking the entrance. Naruto's pulse quickens. Aiko frowns. Someone's been here recently. Could be a small group camping inside. Karen senses for chakra. 2 or 3 sources. I can't tell if they're hostile. Naruto nods. We check it out. If they're trouble, we deal with it. They slip into the tower's base, which is basically a single large room with a crumbling staircase winding up. Light filters through cracks in the walls. The air smells of mildew and stale smoke. Near a corner, 3 figures sit around a dying fire. They spring to their feet when Naruto and his companions enter. 2 men, 1 woman. All look worn, their clothes patched, eyes wary. 1 man has a crossbow slung over his shoulder. The woman grips a short sword. Naruto raises his hands, palms outward in a peaceable gesture. We don't want to fight, just passing through. The crossbow man narrows his eyes. Then why barge in? Karen speaks up gently. We saw this tower and thought it was empty. The woman eyes them suspiciously. No such thing as empty territory these days. Everything's claimed by someone. Aiko steps forward. Let's not escalate. We just need a place to rest for an hour or 2, then we'll move on. A tense silence. The 3 strangers exchange glances. Finally, the crossbow man snorts. Fine. We were just about to leave anyway. Rumor has it there's some big bounty in these parts. We're trying to avoid trouble. Naruto winces inwardly, wondering if they realize he is the big bounty. But the trio seems more focused on survival than hunting. The second man, older with streaks of gray in his hair, picks up a worn pack. We'll clear out. This place is damp and drafty anyway. The 3 strangers shuffle toward the exit, keeping a wide berth around Naruto's group. As they pass, the woman glances at Naruto, lips parted as if she wants to say something. Then she seems to think better of it and leaves. Once they're gone, Karen exhales. At least they weren't bounty hunters. Naruto checks the ashes in the fire pit, noticing they're still warm. These drifters likely only stayed the night. He motions for Karen and Aiko to follow him up the spiral staircase. The stone steps creak with each footstep. At the top, a small circular room, probably once a lookout station. The walls have collapsed in places, giving a panoramic view of the rolling hills. Sunlight washes in, illuminating dust motes drifting in the air. Naruto moves to one of the open arches, peering across the landscape. He can see far in every direction. No visible patrols, no sign of immediate danger. The horizon looks peaceful, belying the turmoil brewing in the shinobi world. Karen gazes across the hills, then glances at Naruto. We can rest here briefly, right? He nods, leaning against a broken section of wall. Yeah, let's do that. They settle in, taking sips of water and nibbling on travel rations. Aiko paces near the staircase, still on edge. Naruto finds his thoughts drifting to Tsunade again. He wonders how she's faring under the council's scrutiny. Could she gather the infiltration details without getting caught? His stomach churns with worry. Karen clears her throat. En said much about the actual plan once we get those relics. Are you certain the ritual will work as described? He folds his arms, exhaling. The scroll was pretty explicit. Once I have enough of the Akatsuki's essence, I can unify their powers under one seal. But it's not something I can just do on a whim. It'll take preparation, maybe a special site or a series of specific hand signs. I'm missing details. Aiko stops pacing. We might find more info in Konoha's vault. The Shinobi Alliance studied the Akatsuki extensively after the war. If any clue about that ritual exists, it's likely locked away with the relics. Naruto frowns. Then infiltration is even more critical. Without that knowledge, I could botch the ritual, end up losing my chakra, or worse. Karen's eyes flick to him. And if you succeed, you'll harness the abilities of some of the deadliest shinobi in history. That's godlike power, Naruto. He closes his eyes momentarily, remembering the devastation pain caused. The illusions Itachi wielded, the monstrous strength of Kakuzu, Hidan's twisted immortality, Deidara's bombs, Sasori's puppets. It's overwhelming to imagine having all of that at his command. A quiet hush falls on the group. Then Naruto opens his eyes, voice steady. I have to do this. The villages will never leave me alone otherwise. They leave the tower by midday, crossing more rolling terrain. By evening, the hills give way to a dense forest again, oak and elm replacing pines. The sky darkens, and the first stars peek out. The next few days blur into a constant cycle of travel and evasion. They skirt small towns, buy supplies in half-abandoned hamlets using what little money they have left. Occasionally, they sense the presence of prowling bounty hunters, but manage to avoid direct conflict. Naruto grows impatient, constantly checking the communication scroll Tsunade gave him. He pours chakra into it every morning, hoping for a response. The seal stays silent. Day by day, an uneasy tension settles over their group. Finally, one afternoon, the scroll warms in his hand, the seal glowing faintly. Naruto nearly drops it in surprise. He presses a bit more chakra into it, and the glow intensifies, forming a tiny sigil that hovers above the parchment. Karen eyes it. As that, Naruto's face lights up. Tsunade's signal. She must have the intel. Aiko quickly glances around. We should get to the rendezvous point. They pick up the pace, heading southeast toward the remote training ground once used by the Sannin. It's a hidden clearing rimmed by towering rocks, with a small waterfall in the back. Naruto remembers Jiraiya bringing him here for special training sessions, away from the prying eyes of the village. The journey takes the better part of the day. By dusk, they reach the rocky perimeter. Water cascades down a cliff into a shallow pool, mist rising around mossy boulders. The air is cool, tinged with the scent of wet stone. Naruto motions for Karen and Aiko to fan out, scanning for chakra or ambushes. Satisfied that no one else lurks in the shadows, they approach the clearing's center. A rustle of leaves signals Tsunade's arrival. She steps out from behind a boulder, wearing the same hooded cloak, though it's now torn and muddy. She looks exhausted, as if she hasn't slept in days. Shizune follows at her side, equally weary. Naruto's heart twists. Tsunade, are you all right? She attempts a wry smile. I've been better, brat. She pulls back her hood, revealing tired eyes. I got what you need, but it wasn't easy. Shizune sets down a small scroll case and a larger leather pouch. This is the vault security schedule, plus guard rotations, passcodes, everything we could gather. And, we have some relics. Naruto's breath catches. Relics? Tsunade nods, kneeling to open the pouch. She removes a sealed container with the unmistakable symbol of Konoha's intelligence division. They've been studying leftover Akatsuki artifacts. I managed to smuggle a few out before the alarm was raised. Karen draws closer, excitement lighting her eyes. Which ones? Tsunade hands over the container. A ring that belonged to Kakuzu, originally from the Akatsuki set. Fragments of Konan's paper, apparently recovered from a megacure by a research team. And a sample of Hidan's blood, though it's heavily diluted. The intelligence division had it for testing. Naruto stares at these items, heart pounding. Each is a critical piece toward the power he seeks. He meets Tsunade's gaze. I can't believe you risked so much. She waves off the gratitude. I did what I had to do, but we're not out of the woods yet. The council suspects I'm up to something. They started restricting my access. I had to cause a diversion, fake a medical emergency, to slip these out. Aiko watches from a short distance, impressed. Thank you. Shizune looks jittery. We should hurry. If they realize Tsunade is gone and that these artifacts are missing, they'll tighten security even more. Tsunade points to the scroll case. In there, you'll find a floor plan of the vault and the building's layout. High-level seals protect the door, but if you can get to the control room, you can disable them. You'll have only a few minutes before an alarm triggers. Naruto's throat feels dry. This is perfect, but are you sure we can trust this info? Tsunade nods firmly. I made it myself, cross-referencing the latest documents. Trust me, it's accurate. He swallows, taking the scroll and the pouch of relics. Thank you. Shizune steps closer, lowering her voice. Naruto, be careful. Once you grab what you need, you have to vanish. There's talk of them deploying an entire platoon of Anbu to hunt you down. Naruto nods. I will. Tsunade's expression turns pained. I hate seeing you forced into this. But if there's any hope of stopping this madness, you need the power to stand up to the council. Karen shifts her weight, looking from Naruto to Tsunade. So we break in, collect the rest of the relics, maybe gather more info on the ritual, and get out. Aiko's brow furrows. We'll need a precise plan. Even with guard schedules, we can't just stroll in. Tsunade nods. You'll have to time it when security is weakest, probably late at night, during shift change. Avoid the central gates and the main roads. Konoha's barrier is still up, but it has blind spots. Naruto sets his jaw. We'll do it. Tsunade stands, casting one more worried look at him. I wish there was another way. But the council has made it clear they won't rest until you're locked up or dead. He steels himself. Then we won't rest either. She hesitates a moment, then pulls him into another fierce hug. Shizune watches with a sad smile. Karen and Aiko exchange glances, letting the moment pass in silence. Tsunade steps back. I can't stay longer. Shizune and I have to return before they suspect anything. Good luck, Naruto. He nods, struggling to keep his voice steady. Thank you for everything. Shizune offers a brief wave, and then the two slip back into the shadows. Naruto looks down at the relics in his hands. A swirl of emotion churns inside him, gratitude, fear, determination, and an odd sense of finality. This infiltration could be his last stand in Konoha, one way or another. He turns to Karen and Aiko. We have what we need. Let's plan this carefully. They move deeper into the training grounds, finding a hidden niche behind a rock overhang where they can safely review the documents. The late night sky arches above, studded with stars. A half moon casts pale light, but they use the faint glow of a covered lantern to read Tsunade's scroll. Karen spreads the floor plan out on a flat stone. Okay, so here's the vault building. It's in the lower level of the Intelligence HQ, near the center of Konoha. Aiko points to a corridor in the diagram. Multiple barrier jutsu. According to Tsunade, we can disable them in this control room. But that's also guarded. Naruto reads the footnotes. There's mention of 2 major seal arrays. One for the outer door, one for the inner vault. We'll have to disable both before we can grab the artifacts. Karen nods. And the passcodes are listed here, but the codes might change on a set schedule, so we have to hit it at the right time. Aiko taps a small room labeled Restricted Storage. This must be where they keep leftover relics from the Akatsuki, among other things. We'll need to get in and out fast. Once the alarm goes off, we're toast. Naruto's gaze travels over the layout. What about the infiltration route? We can't just walk through the front. Tsunade said there's a blind spot in the village barrier, probably near the Nara forest or the old tunnels under the Hyuga district. Karen checks Tsunade's notes. Yes, she suggests we enter from the east side, near a drainage tunnel that leads under a training field. We'll come up inside the outer ring of the village, avoiding the main gates. Aiko frowns. And we'll have to do that at night, during shift change. That means we'll be tired, and the time window is short. Naruto sets his jaw. We've done riskier things before. Let's finalize the timeline. Tomorrow night, just before midnight, we slip through the barrier. We cross into the Intelligence HQ. We disable the seals, grab what we need, and escape. Karen exhales shakily. I hope it goes that smoothly. He wraps up the floor plan and the notes, tucking them away. We'll rest tonight, head out tomorrow. We'll approach Konoha by dusk, find the drainage tunnel, and wait for our moment. Aiko glances at him. And once we have the relics, then what? Naruto's eyes flick to the relics Tsunade already gave him. Kakuzu's ring, Konan's paper, Hidan's blood. Then I complete the ritual, somewhere far from here. Then, we turn the tables. His voice carries a quiet intensity. Karen senses the weight of it, a deep resolve forged by betrayal and necessity. She nods once, standing to keep watch. Aiko adjusts her weapons, preparing for a short night's sleep. Naruto stares up at the stars, replaying memories of a younger self dreaming of becoming Hokage, of protecting Konoha with unwavering devotion. The same place he now plans to infiltrate as a fugitive. A pang of bitterness laces his thoughts, but he steels himself. They made me the enemy, he whispers to the empty sky, so now I'll be the enemy they deserve. The following day is a blur of final preparations. They skirt around farmland near Konoha, occasionally glimpsing the Hokage monument in the distance. It feels surreal to see those carved faces, symbols of pride and protection, when all Naruto feels is betrayal. By nightfall, they stand on a wooded ridge overlooking the village's outer perimeter. Lights gleam below, lanterns and street lamps lining the roads. Patrols move along the walls, silhouettes visible against the faint glow. Naruto signals for Aiko to scout ahead. She flickers away, returning minutes later to confirm the area is clear of immediate patrols. Karen pinpoints the chakra of a pair of guards about 100 meters to the south, but they're stationary. They slip down the ridge under the cover of darkness. Occasional shouts from a distant patrol drift through the trees, but they go unnoticed. Finally, they reach a section of the village wall where an old drainage culvert juts out. The iron bars have rusted, partially broken away. A small trickle of water flows from within. Karen gently probes the barrier with her chakra sense. I feel a weak spot here. Tsunade was right. Naruto presses a hand to the barrier's edge, focusing. He can sense the faint hum of the village's protective field. With careful control, he channels a thread of his chakra to slip through, allowing them passage. He moves first, sliding into the culvert. The stale smell of algae and damp stone hits his nose. Water splashes around his ankles. Karen and Aiko follow, quiet as ghosts. They crawl a short distance, then emerge into a larger drainage tunnel. Dimly lit by flickering lamps spaced far apart, this tunnel likely runs beneath a training field on Konoha's outskirts. Naruto leads them deeper, stepping carefully to avoid puddles that might make noise. His heart thuds in his chest. The air is thick with tension. He's back in Konoha, but as an intruder. They finally reach a rusted maintenance door. According to Tsunade's notes, this door leads to a disused storeroom near the intelligence HQ. Naruto carefully eases it open. On the other side is a short corridor. A flickering fluorescent light hums overhead. The walls are bare concrete, cracked with age. Footsteps echo from somewhere above. Aiko slips into the corridor, listening intently. I hear two sets of footsteps. They sound distant. Naruto checks Tsunade's schedule. It's almost midnight. The shift change should happen in 5 minutes. That's our window. Karen nods, frowning. We should move. They ascend a flight of stairs at the end of the corridor, emerging into a small side hall. Official notices peel from bulletin boards. A single overhead lamp casts harsh shadows. No one is around, yet. Aiko hands Naruto a small watch. We can't spend more than 15 minutes here or we risk running into the next patrol. Naruto stuffs the watch into his pocket and leads them forward, turning corners based on Tsunade's stolen blueprint. Every step tightens the coil of anxiety in his gut. Memories flood back. Of running these halls as a kid, pestering staff, sneaking into top-secret areas with typical brashness. Now, it feels alien, hostile. They reach a T intersection. To the left, a sign indicates the Intelligence Division's main offices. To the right, a door with a coded lock and a sign reading, "Restricted access." That's their path. Karen pulls a slip of paper with the passcode. She punches it into the keypad. The door beeps, then hisses open. They step inside, finding another corridor. This one is lined with thick metal doors, each labeled with alphanumeric codes. Naruto reads Tsunade's note, Door B13, Vault Control. They hurry past doors B09, B-10, B-11. The overhead lights are spaced far apart, casting wide swaths of shadow. Each second feels longer than the last. Finally, B-13. A thick steel door with a reinforced lock, plus an additional seal tag. Naruto gently peels off the tag and channels a bit of chakra into it, recalling Tsunade's instructions. The seal fizzles, releasing the door. Inside, the control room is cramped, filled with panels of blinking lights and levers. A single overhead fluorescent lamp buzzes. Karen and Aiko slip inside behind Naruto, scanning for any occupant. The room is empty, though a half-finished cup of tea sits on a console. Naruto rushes to the main console. Lines of glowing text indicate the status of multiple vault seals. He follows Tsunade's instructions, flipping 3 switches in a precise sequence. The screen flashes, asking for a password. Karen reads from the note. Y3429K. Naruto enters it. The console beeps. A red warning message flares, then subsides. The screen turns green, showing outer seal deactivated. Aiko exhales. One down. Naruto locates a second console for the inner seal. The procedure is similar but requires a second passcode. He types it in, heart pounding. The screen flashes again. Inner seal temporarily suspended. Alarm in T-3 minutes. Karen's eyes widen. We only get 3 minutes? Aiko curses under her breath. Let's go. They rush out of the control room, sprinting down the corridor to door B17, which Tsunade's notes label as the entrance to the vault. The thick steel barrier stands ajar, the seal tag dark and inert. Naruto yanks the door open. They hurry inside a large storage chamber lined with shelves, locked cases, and sealed compartites illuminate rows of labeled boxes. Karen grabs a manifest from a desk. Let's find the Akatsuki relics quickly. Aiko darts to the nearest shelf, scanning labels. Uchiha, sensor masks, leftover Edo Tensei tags, not what we need. Naruto runs further in, eyes flicking across crates. At last, he spots a locked cabinet with the label Akatsuki artifacts. He dashes over, using Rasengan to tear the lock off with minimal noise. Inside are multiple drawers. He yanks them open one by one. Old rings, scraps of robes, weapon fragments. Each with a small identification tag. Deidara's clay samples, a piece of Kisami's busted Samahata, a segment of Sasori's tail, a blood-stained blade rumored to be Hidan's secondary scythe. His pulse races as he gathers anything relevant. Kisami's piece stands out, a chunk of scaly flesh from Samahata's hilt. That might hold Kisami's chakra imprint. There's also a ring with the kanji for Rei. That belonged to Pain's group, though he's not certain if it's genuine. Karen appears beside him, rummaging through another drawer. She snags a small sealed jar containing dark residue labeled experimental tissue. Kakuzu. Possibly leftover from his stitched hearts. She also finds a few shards of Itachi's broken kunai, carefully bagged for research. Aiko calls from a shelf across the room, voice tense. I've got something marked Nagato's Rinnegan samples, but it's empty. Naruto's heart sinks. Then they must have moved anything Rinnegan related somewhere else. Grab any scraps you can find. Aiko finds a single sliver of black metal pegged as a chakra receiver from Pain's body. She pockets it. Time bleeds away. Karen glances at her watch. We have a minute left before the alarm triggers. They stuff the relics into a storage scroll Naruto prepared. He can't help but feel a surge of grim triumph. Each item represents a new piece of power. A shrill klaxon blares through the corridor. The lights flash red. Warning. Vault seals deactivated. Unauthorized access. Aiko curses. They're onto us. We gotta go. They bolt from the vault, relics secured. The alarm echoes down the halls. Footsteps thunder from both directions. Shinobi voices shout orders. Naruto leads them back the way they came, but a squad of Anbu emerges around the corner. Masks gleam under the red emergency lights. Kunai glint in their hands. Aiko skids to a halt, flicking 2 shuriken at them. The Anbu deflect easily. One barks an order, stand down or die. Naruto forms a shadow clone, which rushes forward with a Rasengan. The hallway erupts into a flurry of flashing steel and chakra bursts. Smoke fills the air. 2 Anbu go down, while the rest regroup, blocking the corridor. Karen tugs Naruto's sleeve. We can't fight them all. There's another way back. They pivot, racing into a side corridor. The pounding footsteps behind them intensify. An alarm blares from overhead speakers, layered with the hiss of radio chatter. They dash up a stairwell, emerging into a ground-level corridor that opens onto a courtyard. The moon glows overhead, revealing another squad of leaf shinobi rushing in. Aiko grips a kunai between her teeth. No choice, break through. Naruto summons a swirling orb of 9 tails chakra, unleashing it in a sweeping arc. The shockwave sends the squad flying, though he tries to avoid lethal force. They sprint across the courtyard, eyes set on a perimeter wall. Shouts echo behind them. Stop them. Don't let Uzumaki escape. They scale the wall with a burst of chakra, leaping into a narrow alley. The labyrinth of Konoha's streets stretches before them, lit by flickering lamps. Alarms continue to shriek in the distance. Karen leads them down a side street, then through another drainage passage that's less guarded. The city's barrier forces swirl in confusion, not expecting them to exit so quickly. At last, they slip beyond the outer perimeter, hearts pounding, relics in hand. The night air outside Konoha tastes of adrenaline and sweat. Naruto doesn't slow until they're well into the forest. When they finally stop, each of them is breathing hard. Aiko checks her arm, where a kunai grazed her. Karen quickly uses healing chakra to close the wound. Naruto glances back at the faint glow of Konoha's lights. He feels a storm of emotions: anger, triumph, sadness, relief. Karen exhales shakily. We did it, we got everything. Naruto nods, clutching the storage scroll. Now we have what we need. Aiko leans against a tree, eyes shining with adrenaline. That was intense. He looks at the horizon, the faintest glimmer of dawn creeping in. Let's get away from here. Then we can figure out where to perform the ritual. Karen nods, though a hint of worry shadows her face. Lead the way, Naruto. They vanish into the pre-dawn gloom, relics in hand, the chaotic alarm bells of Konoha fading behind them. In that moment, Naruto feels his destiny shifting, each step carrying him closer to an unimaginable power, and a reckoning that will shake the shinobi world to its core. Chapter End. Chapter 4. Rising Tyrant or Savior? A stormy sky looms over a desolate clearing in the land of claws. Harsh winds rip through the jagged canyons, carrying dust and echoes of distant thunder. Naruto, Karen, and Aiko stand near the mouth of an abandoned mineshaft, yet another makeshift hideout. Days have passed since their infiltration of Konoha. Since then, rumors have exploded. A furious council, a restless daimyo, and bounty hunters crawling across the continent. Nightfall and reunions, they settle around a sputtering fire just inside the old mineshaft. Lantern light flickers across piled timbers and rusted tracks. Naruto unrolls the storage scroll, carefully laying out the fragments they stole. Deidara's clay, pieces of Kisami's samahata, Sasori's puppet fragments, Kakuzu's ring and tissue, Hidan's blood sample, Konan's paper scraps, Itachi's kunai shards, and the black receiver from Nagato's body. It's a macabre collection, each artifact a reminder of the Akatsuki's once terrifying power. Karen kneels beside him, riffling through an old binder. Some of these notes detail the ritual, but there are gaps, whole sections missing or coded. Aiko eyes the pages. We probably need a secure place to test any jutsu involving those relics. Doing it in some random cave could backfire. Naruto's jaw tightens. We'll figure it out. The more the world hunts me, the stronger I have to become. They're interrupted by a faint scuff of boots on stone. A silhouette appears at the mine entrance. A slim figure with silver blonde hair. It's Ino Yamanaka. Her gaze darts warily around. Naruto? I heard the rumors, I had to see if they were true. Karen tenses, fingers curling around a kunai. Aiko stands alert, suspicious. But Naruto lifts a hand. It's okay. Ino's eyes glisten with conflicted emotions. They're calling you a traitor, you know. Some even say you've fallen to dark jutsu. But, I remember the friend who saved us all during the war. I need to know if that person is still in there. Naruto's voice is low. I'm still me, Ino. The village forced my hand. She hesitates, torn between duty and loyalty. Then she steps closer, lowering her voice. I'm not here as a spy. I left Konoha. Not officially missing Nin, but, let's just say the council and I don't see eye to eye anymore. My father, he wouldn't stand for what they did to you. Karen and Aiko exchange uncertain glances. Naruto stands, crossing the mine floor. You're risking a lot coming here. Ino nods, swallowing hard. I want to help you expose the council's corruption. If that means aligning with you, then so be it. Naruto searches her face. There's sincerity there, and desperation. At last, he gives a curt nod. All right, welcome aboard. Aiko relaxes slightly, though her posture remains guarded. Karen stows her kunai, mind still reeling fluid. Ino's presence introduces both hope and complication. Over the next few days, Ino integrates herself into the group, assisting with security and sharing intel. She also proves helpful in deciphering some of the coded sections in the ritual notes. Her Yamanaka background includes training in complex mental and intelligence techniques. One afternoon, Aiko returns from a supply run with an unexpected companion, a tall, stoic kunoichi from the hidden cloud, Samui. She, too, was drawn by rumors of a rogue Naruto forging alliances and defying the major villages. Tired of the Raikage's heavy-handed directives, Samui offers her skill in exchange for a place among them. Naruto, after some cautious questioning, welcomes her with a grudging trust. It's a strange congregation. Outcasts, rogues, and a handful of former Konoha ninja, all gathering around Naruto. Whispers spread of this growing rebel cell. Some call Naruto a rising tyrant, others hail him as a savior preparing to root out corruption. The mine expands into a small warren of tunnels where Naruto and his allies can move freely. But living so closely breeds tension. During late-night planning sessions, tempers flare. One evening, Karen confronts Aiko in a dimly lit corridor. Karen, quietly furious, you keep pushing Naruto toward riskier moves, raiding small outposts, pulling in more rogue ninja. It's like you want a war. Aiko, coolly, we already have a war, Karen. It's just one the council started. Naruto has to hit back or be crushed. Karen, I know, but if we turn too aggressive, we're no better than the Akatsuki once were. They glare at each other until Ino intervenes, gently pulling them apart. Ino, don't forget we're all on the same side. We need to trust Naruto's judgment. Nearby, Naruto overhears the dispute. He feels the weight of leadership pressing on him. He must balance aggression with the moral lines he once held dear. But each betrayal from Konoha hardens his resolve. Naruto's private conflict, Naruto's POV, late night. Naruto stands at the mouth of the mineshaft, gazing at the moonlit canyon. Wind howls, carrying dust and echoes of the past. He clutches a sealed scroll containing the Akatsuki relics. The power he seeks lies within reach, yet a gnawing doubt stirs in his chest. Am I going too far? He wonders, recalling the times he insisted on saving even his enemies. Now, the betrayal has severed his patience. If Konoha insists on treating him as a monster, maybe he should give them what they fear. His grip tightens. A swirl of nine tails chakra flickers around his hand, then fades. He senses footsteps behind him. Ino appears, wrapped in a shawl against the chill night air. Ino. Softly. Hard to sleep. Naruto. Yeah, too much on my mind. Ino. You can still turn back, you know. Maybe if we prove the council's wrongdoing. Naruto. Voice bitter. They won't stop unless I force them, and that means power, real power. She touches his arm gently. You have me, and Karen, and Aiko, Samui, too. We're with you. You're not alone in this. He exhales, tension easing a fraction. Thanks, Ino. That helps. They stand there a while, the moon overhead, the wind swirling. There's a closeness in the silence. A moment of warmth amid the cold reality of war. Morning brings troubling news. Samui reports that a band of elite mercenaries, rumored to be funded by Fire Country's daimyo, is hunting them. Additionally, the Land of Earth has quietly placed its own bounty on Naruto, worried he could become a second Madara. Worse, scattered whispers say Kakashi, now labeled by the council as compromised, has vanished from Konoha, apparently refusing to hunt Naruto. The village is fracturing from within. Many believe the betrayal of their greatest hero is a step too far. Naruto reviews these developments with his growing inner circle. They stand around a rough table in the mineshaft's main cavern. Naruto. We're being closed in from all sides. The daimyo's mercenaries, other villages' bounties. Samui. We can't just keep hiding in caves. Eventually, they'll find us. Aiko. Then we move first. Hit them before they tighten the net. Show we won't be an easy target. Karen. But if we strike blindly, more villages will label us a threat. Ino steps forward. Konoha's council is the root cause. Cut that root, and maybe the other nations back off. Naruto's eyes flash. He knows a direct assault on Konoha's leadership is dangerous beyond belief. But each day, the noose tightens. Slowly, he nods. Naruto. We don't have to raise the village. Just take out the corrupt elders and expose their crimes. Once I finish this ritual, no one can stand in my way. The group exchanges uneasy glances. They know the line between necessary action and outright vengeance is razor thin. Gathering darkness, a short paw from a bounty hunter. Miles away, a tall figure sits by a roadside campfire, flipping through a stack of wanted posters. Among them, Naruto Uzumaki's face stares back. A monstrous sum is scrawled beneath. The bounty hunter's lips curve into a hungry grin. He listens to rumors whispered by passing merchants, a rogue band, led by a former hero, building an army in remote caves. Betrayal, forbidden jutsu. The bounty hunter's excitement stokes the fire in his eyes. With cunning steps, he moves into the night, determined to locate his prey. Back at the mineshaft, Naruto decides it's time to push forward with preliminary steps of the ritual. He's deciphered enough to at least begin merging one or two fragments, testing if his body can handle the synergy of multiple Akatsuki chakras. In a chamber deep within the mine, candles flicker around a crude seal array scrawled across the floor. A swirl of chalk lines forms a spiraling pattern, ringed by glyphs from the stolen notes. Karen, Aiko, Ino, and Samui stand watch. Naruto kneels at the center, placing Deidara's clay fragment and a piece of Sasori's puppet body before him. He closes his eyes, channeling chakra. Heat blooms in the chamber, making the candles dance. A sickly red aura seeps from the artifacts. Naruto's breath hitches as the energies snake into him. One side explosive and volatile, the other cold and mechanical. For a fleeting moment, pain lances through his chest. Then the nine tails chakra flares, taming the foreign energies. The seal lines on the floor glow, pulsing in time with Naruto's heartbeat. Sweat beads on his forehead. Each breath feels like fire. Karen clenches her fists. Is he okay? We should stop. Aiko puts a hand on her shoulder. Give him a chance. Ino's eyes never leave Naruto. She senses his mental struggle, the flicker of conflicting chakras. Samui stands stoic, tense, ready to intervene. Then, with a harsh gasp, Naruto steadies himself. The swirling aura dimly fades into his body. He exhales, exhausted but triumphant. It worked. I can feel pieces of their abilities. He lifts a hand. A small swirl of clay forms in his palm, shaped by Sasori's puppet threads. It crackles with the potential for an explosion. Naruto quickly disperses it before it destabilizes. Ino rushes in, checking his pulse. That was insane. How do you feel? Naruto's eyes burn with an unearthly light. Stronger, this is just the start. In the aftermath, Karen fusses over Naruto's chakra flows, worried about side effects. Aiko hovers near the entrance, unsettled by the faint aura pulsing around him. Samui stands guard outside, ensuring no one interrupts. Later, Naruto slumps against a rough stone wall, fatigue creeping in. Ino kneels by him, gently offering some water. He drinks, then meets her eyes. A silent question hangs between them. Is he truly walking the right path? She finally breaks the silence. When you merge more of their powers, you might start losing yourself. He gives a weary shrug. Better to risk that than let the council destroy me. She leans in. Forget who you are, Naruto. He closes his eyes, the memory of the old days flooding back. Team camaraderie, Kakashi's lazy drawl, Ichiraku's ramen. He clenches his jaw. Believe it or not, I'm still fighting for the village I love, even if I have to shatter its rotten core first. Ino presses her forehead against his shoulder, a gesture of solidarity. Neither speaks, but the moment lingers, an unspoken bond growing between them in this dark place. Word spreads like wildfire. Small time groups hear that Naruto Uzumaki has begun harnessing the fabled Akatsuki powers. Some see him as a symbol of rebellion against oppressive leaders. Others fear him as a new Madara in the making. Deserters from various lands start showing up in the canyons, some seeking protection, others seeking a place in an up-and-coming force. Naruto quickly organizes them into small cells, each answerable to him or his trusted lieutenants. Karen, Aiko, Ino, Samui. His leadership style is harsh but fair. Loyalty rewarded, treachery punished. They hold training sessions in the canyon floors, perfecting formations and reconnaissance tactics. Naruto rarely fights personally, saving his strength. The few times he does demonstrate his power, The onlookers gape in awe at swirling half-glimpses of Deidara's explosive jutsu or Sasori's puppet threads merged with Naruto's trademark Rasengan. Confrontation with an old friend one evening, an unexpected visitor arrives, a hooded figure who slips past the watch and enters the mineshaft without fanfare. He pulls back his hood, revealing a familiar face. Kakashi Hitaki, his Sharingan eye covered as usual by a forehead protector. The gathered rebels tense, some reaching for weapons. Naruto steps forward. Kakashi-sensei? Kakashi's single visible eye is heavy with sorrow. Naruto, what has the village done? A hush falls. Naruto's allies watch warily. Kakashi was once revered as the sixth Hokage's stand-in and a top jonin. Is he here to fight? Naruto, quietly, they betrayed me. I had no choice. Kakashi. I deserted when they demanded I lead a strike against you. I refused. Naruto exhales, relief mingling with anger. I'm glad you didn't, but you realize they'll label you a traitor too. Kakashi nods. That's why I'm here. I don't approve of everything you're doing, but I won't let them hunt you down. The council's gone too far. In the corner, Karen and Aiko exchange cautious looks. Another high-profile defector from Konoha signals the village's deeper cracks. Kakashi glances at the relics Naruto has assembled, a flicker of worry in his eye. Kakashi. You're meddling with dangerous powers, Naruto. Naruto. It's the only way to stop them. I'll master these abilities or die trying. A tense silence. Kakashi finally nods, though concern lines his face. He extends a worn scroll, sets it on a crate. Information from inside. Guard changes, supply lines. Use it wisely, and don't lose yourself. Naruto picks up the scroll, grateful. Thank you, sensei. Kakashi steps back. I'll stay off-grid. If you need me, I'll find a way. He disappears into the mineshaft's shadows as silently as he arrived. Naruto remains standing, staring at the spot where his former teacher vanished, heart pounding with mixed emotions. Days pass, and Naruto's makeshift rebel faction swells in number. Skirmishes erupt with wandering bounty hunters, but Naruto's side emerges victorious, bolstering his growing legend. Behind the scenes, he painstakingly prepares the final stage of the ritual. The synergy of Akatsuki powers calls to him like a dark siren, promising the strength to confront anyone, daimyo, council, or even the entire shinobi world. In the deepest cavern, Naruto stands at the center of a newly drawn seal, bright lines gleaming. He regards the assembled relics with grim determination. He can feel them pulsing, demanding to be unified. Karen, Aiko, Ino, Samui, and even a few new defectors stand in a wide circle, unsure whether to witness a miracle or a catastrophe. Naruto glances around, eyes fierce. It's time. If the world wants to fear me, I'll give them a reason. He kneels, placing his palms on the swirling glyphs. Power thunders through the chamber like a living thing. The ground vibrates, dust raining from the ceiling. The relics flare with red and black chakra, twisting together into ghostly forms of the Akatsuki's deadly skills. Karen's voice trembles. Naruto, he grits his teeth, sweat pouring down his brow. I won't lose control. Electric currents of raw energy crackle around him. The seal glows brighter, tendrils of multi-hued chakra coiling into his body. An inhuman roar echoes off the stone walls. Part Kyuubi, part fragmented spirits of the Akatsuki, raging for dominance. Ino shields her eyes from the glare. Samui braces her stance, unsure if she should intervene. Aiko's jaw sets, half in awe, half in terror. Kakashi's warning echoes in Naruto's mind. Don't lose yourself. He fights to maintain balance, forging an internal treaty between the Nine Tails chakra and the foreign powers he's absorbing. The onslaught feels endless, but somewhere in the chaos, Naruto's will rises like unbreakable steel. At last, the swirling energies subside. Naruto collapses to one knee, panting. The seal on the floor dims. For a moment, no one speaks. Then Naruto stands, slowly, unsteadily. The aura around him is different, layered with ominous hues. He lifts his gaze to those watching. His voice is hoarse yet resolute. I have it all now. Fear and hope in the following hours, rumors swirl among Naruto's followers. Some are awestruck, convinced he's a savior who'll topple the corrupt. Others whisper fear that he's a ticking time bomb, a living vessel of monstrous jutsu. Karen and Ino do their best to reassure everyone. Samui keeps her distance, arms folded, eyes keenly observing every shift in Naruto's demeanor. Naruto himself feels an unearthly power coursing through his veins, snippets of abilities from the entire Akatsuki. But he also senses the risk. Each stolen technique is tinged with the malice of its original owner. He must maintain unwavering control or be consumed. Meanwhile, in hidden chambers across the nations, councils meet in hushed panic. Konoha's elders tighten their defenses. The daimyo hires more mercenaries. The Tsuchikage and Raikage watch warily, dispatching scouts. The name Naruto Uzumaki becomes a rallying cry for some, a nightmare for others. Yet the real confrontation looms on the horizon. The betrayal that started everything still festers like an open wound. And Naruto, bolstered by unimaginable power, stands ready to strike back. Toward the final showdown, dusk settles over the canyon as Naruto surveys his ragtag faction, rogue shinobi, outcasts, even a few who came just for the chance to serve under someone rumored to be unstoppable. They gather around him, awaiting the next command. He takes a slow breath. We march soon, to Konoha. A hush falls, hearts pounding. Karen's eyes flick to Ino, whose gaze is locked on Naruto. Aiko tilts her head, a grim smile tugging at her lips. Samui remains stone-faced, betraying neither approval nor concern, but she grips her sword with new tension. Naruto raises his voice, each word echoing across the rocky terrain. No more hiding, no more running. We'll show the world the cost of betrayal, and if the council won't step down, we'll tear their rule apart. In that charged moment, the lines blur. Is Naruto a hero reclaiming justice, or a tyrant seizing vengeance? Only the final clash at Konoha's gates will decide. Chapter End. Chapter 5. Rebirth of a legend. Night drapes the canyon in deep blues and grays. In the flickering torchlight, Naruto stands before his assembled allies, a ragtag legion of rogue ninjas, outcasts, and defectors from multiple villages. Wind howls through the rocky ravine, whipping cloaks and hair. The tension is electric. Tonight, they shush falls as Naruto steps onto a rock ledge, scanning the crowd. Red chakra flickers faintly around him, a living testament to the nine tails within, now fused with the dreadful powers of the Akatsuki. In the wavering light, his eyes hold an intensity that no one can ignore. Naruto, voice ringing out. You all know why you're here. We've been hunted, branded traitors and criminals, forced to run or hide, but no more. We strike at dawn. A ripple of reaction spreads through the crowd. Some clasp their weapons tighter, others swallow nervously. In the front row, Karen, Aiko, Ino, Samui, and a handful of other trusted lieutenants stand at attention. Kakashi lurks in the back, hood drawn, arms folded in silent support. Naruto. Konoha's council betrayed me. They betrayed all of us who believed in their lies. They twisted the daimyo's fear to label me an enemy. If they won't see reason, then they'll see our strength. Thunder rumbles overhead, as if the storm itself answers his call. At that sound, Naruto's legion begins moving, packing supplies, checking weapons, and forming units. This is no grand army in shining armor. It's a band of hardened souls with everything to lose. They travel all night, using hidden paths and Kakashi's insider knowledge to avoid detection. By dawn, the faint orange glow silhouettes the distant walls of Konoha. The group halts in a stretch of forest just beyond the village's barrier. Birds scatter from the treetops, sensing the tension. Naruto, Karen, and Aiko study a makeshift map on a tree stump. The plan is two-pronged. Part of the force will create diversions along the village's perimeter, drawing out the main body of shinobi. Meanwhile, Naruto and his closest allies will infiltrate the heart of Konoha, confronting the elders and forcing them to end this madness, or face the consequences. Aiko, tapping the map. We still have to contend with the barrier. According to Kakashi, the controls are deeper in the village, but if we launch simultaneous attacks at multiple points, the barrier team will have to spread thin. Karen, nodding. We can time it so the main gates are overwhelmed. Then Naruto and his strike team can slip in through the old drainage tunnels. I remember that route from the infiltration weeks ago. Ino paces, chewing her lip anxiously. If I can capture a few key guard stations with my clan's mind transfer jutsu, that'll buy us extra minutes. Naruto folds the map. Let's finalize it. No unnecessary bloodshed. Our fight is with the council, not the whole village. A handful of renegades nearby exchange uneasy looks. Some are itching for revenge. Naruto's voice lowers, turning stern. Naruto. Anyone who's only here to slaughter civilians or burn the village is free to leave right now. That's not our purpose. A tense silence. But no one moves. They respect his strength too much to defy him. Naruto's eyes sweep across the ranks. He quietly hopes enough people still believe in the ideals he once held dear. Mid-morning. The first explosions thunder against Konoha's outer walls, courtesy of a rogue demolition expert in Naruto's faction. Sirens and alarm bells blare. Shinobi flood the ramparts, forming defensive lines. Smoke drifts into the sky. On the east side, Samui leads a small squad, pressing a feint against the gates with her lightning release. Leaf Shinobi respond in force, meeting them with water jutsu and wind jutsu. The clash is intense but controlled. Samui's goal is distraction, not conquest. Meanwhile, in the chaos, Naruto's infiltration team slips through a half-collapsed drainage tunnel. Kakashi moves ahead, neutralizing barrier seals with swift precision. Karen keeps an ear out for patrols, while Ino, Aiko, and a few others fan out to secure side corridors. Karen. Whispering. I sense multiple squads above us. Anbu and Jonin. They're on high alert. Naruto. We stick to the plan. Find the council room. Force them to face me. A guttural roar echoes from somewhere behind them. One of Naruto's detachments tangling with Konoha ninjas. Each scuffle drains the village's defenders, letting Naruto's core group press deeper. Adrenaline spikes with every footstep. They emerge into a maze of corridors beneath the Hokage Tower. The building quakes with distant impacts. Samui's forces must be targeting the central courtyard. Dust sifts from the ceiling. Naruto leads the way, memory guiding him toward the council chambers. Suddenly, a squad of Leaf Shinobi appears, led by none other than Rock Lee and Neji Hyuga. If we consider an O where Neji is still alive, or we can substitute another Hyuga if needed. Their expressions are grim, but not hostile for the sake of it. They block the corridor. Neji. Voice echoing, Naruto, you must stop this. The village is tearing itself apart. Rock Lee. We know the elders wronged you, but think about the innocents caught in the crossfire. Naruto's chest tightens. Old friends, forced onto opposing sides. Ino steps up, eyes watering at the sight of them. Aiko flanks Naruto, readying kunai. Naruto, quietly, stand aside. We don't want to hurt you. Neji's Byakugan flares. I can't let you just destroy the village. Karen. Urgently. We're not here to destroy it. Rock Lee's fists tremble with frustration. Then why all the carnage? Why ally yourself with rogues and criminals? Naruto's anger flares. Because the council made me an enemy. They framed me, tried to kill me. Konoha's leadership is corrupt, and I'm done begging for a place. Neji and Lee exchange glances, conflict warring in their faces. Finally, they step aside, albeit reluctantly. Neji, eyes shadowed. We can't fight you, not like this. But please, Naruto, remember what the village once meant to you. Rock Lee's voice breaks. You were our comrade. Naruto can't look them in the eye. Thank you, he mutters. He and his team press onward, leaving Neji and Lee behind in a swirl of guilt and tension. They storm up twisting staircases until they reach the circular council hall. Massive wooden doors stand ajar, revealing a half-lit chamber where the council elders, Kaharu and Homura, await, flanked by squads of hardened Anbu and a robed daimyo's messenger. Flickering torches cast long shadows across the tiled floor. Homura, voice raised, Naruto Uzumaki, you've come to finish your betrayal, I see. Kaharu, you think you can overthrow the daimyo's will? This is treason of the highest order. Naruto, you made me a traitor the day you turned your back on me. The Anbu draw weapons. Karen and Aiko drop into defensive stances. Ino and Kakashi shift to Naruto's flanks, tension thick in the air. Daimyo's messenger, sternly, surrender now, Naruto, or face the might of the land of fire. We won't let a rogue Jinchuriki stand uncontested. Naruto's eyes burn with fury. You talk about the land of fire's might, but you hid behind me when the world was at war. Now you label me a monster? Before they can answer, the Anbu charge. Light explodes with the clash of steel and jutsu. A storm of conflict engulfs the chamber. Kakashi leaps in, parrying multiple strikes. Ino uses her mind transfer jutsu to incapacitate an Anbu captain. Aiko unleashes a flurry of kunai with deadly precision. Karen whips out healing seals for instant support. Naruto strides forward, swirling with a red-tinged cloak of Nine Tails chakra, infused with the stolen Akatsuki powers. His very presence makes the air sizzle. A single gesture sends a wave of oppressive chakra, scattering lesser shinobi. Homura, shaken, monster, you've become the monster we feared. Naruto. You forced this on me. He slams a Rasengan laced with Deidara's explosive energy into the tiled floor, cracking it wide. Chunks of marble fly, the shockwave staggering the Anbu. In the chaos, the elders scramble back, terror etched on their faces. Just as Naruto corners Koharu and Homura, a sudden swirl of smoke erupts at the edge of TH pairs, accompanied by Shizune and a squad of medics. She steps between Naruto and the cowering elders, hands raised. Tsunade, sternly. That's enough, Naruto. Her presence is commanding, even in the thick of battle. For an instant, everything halts. Anbu freeze, uncertain. Naruto stares, chest heaving. Tsunade. I know they betrayed you. I know how wrong this is, but destroying them won't fix Konoha. Naruto's rage crackles around him. They wanted me dead. They turned the daimyo against me. They'll never stop unless. Tsunade. Unless you show them a better way. Not through genocide or a scorched earth campaign. If you cross this line, there's no coming back. Behind Tsunade, Shizune quietly helps a wounded leaf shinobi to her feet. The battered Anbu stare, caught between fear of Naruto and respect for their former Hokage. Homura and Koharu, trembling, exchange glances. The entire power structure they manipulated is unraveling. The daimyo's messenger stands off to the side, pinned by a stone chunk from Naruto's Rasengan. He looks both furious and terrified. Tsunade. Naruto, you have the power to destroy them or spare them. Which path will you choose? Naruto's fists clench. The red aura flares, and flickers of each Akatsuki's energy swirl around him like ghostly silhouettes. Pain's Rinnegan shimmer, Itachi's dark crows, Deidara's explosive sparks. For a moment, it seems he might lash out and finish them all. Then, Ino steps up beside him, voice trembling but resolute. You don't have to do this, Naruto. Please, don't become what they claim you are. Karen's eyes glisten with emotion. We still believe in you. A memory flashes in Naruto's mind. He's a child, dreaming of being Hokage, protecting everyone. Another memory. The war, fighting side by side with the very people who now cower at his feet. Despite everything, that sense of duty lingers. Slowly, his chakra recedes. He exhales, voice raw. Fine. I won't slaughter you. But you're done ruling Konoha. Step down, or the next time I come here, I won't hold back. Homura's face is ashen. Koharu struggles for composure. They sense they have no choice. Daimyo's messenger, in disbelief. You can't threaten the daimyo's will. Tsunade cuts him off. The daimyo trusted these elders' counsel, and they orchestrated the betrayal. The truth will come out. She fixes him with a fiery glare. Unless you want to face the wrath of the ninja world when they learn you turned on its greatest hero. The messenger falls silent, swallowing hard. The aftermath in Konoha. Within hours, news spreads throughout Konoha. The elders have resigned under pressure. Tsunade, stepping into a leadership role despite the council's protest, promises a full investigation into the corruption that led to Naruto's exile. Shockwaves tear through the village. Some celebrate the potential end of the elders' tyranny. Others watch warily, uncertain of Naruto's next move. Naruto stands on a ruined balcony overlooking the battered courtyard. Smoke rises from scattered fires, but the fighting has mostly ceased. Robed ninjas and Konoha shinobi keep a cautious distance from each other. Kakashi, coming up quietly, you pulled back at the brink. I'm proud of you. Naruto scoffs, rubbing his face. Proud of me? I almost? He closes his eyes, the weight of what nearly happened threatening to crush him. Kakashi. But you didn't. It's a start. Tsunade summons Naruto to the Hokage's office. What's left of it, anyway? Parts of the building are in shambles. She stands behind a cracked desk, Shizune by her side. Walls are scorched and half collapsed from the earlier skirmishes. Tsunade. Voice solemn. The village is in disarray. We can't just rebuild overnight. Many blame the council for your exile. Others still fear your power. We need stability. Naruto folds his arms. You're asking me to stay? After everything? Tsunade holds his gaze. I'm asking you to help shape a future where no one is cast out like you were. Where the fear and paranoia that fueled this betrayal can be rooted out. But I won't force you. He hesitates. Memories crowd in, childhood loneliness, the war, the bond he once shared with Konoha. He senses the old longing flicker. The dream of being a Hokage who could unite everyone. But his mind drifts to the rebel allies he brought here, many of whom can't simply reintegrate into the system. Naruto, quietly, I have people who depend on me now. Outcasts from every corner. They won't trust Konoha just because the elders stepped down. Tsunade nods. Then let's make a place for them, too. If we truly want change, we can't turn away those who've been wronged. Shizune. We can negotiate terms, carve out a path for amnesty, on the condition that no more innocent lives are endangered. Naruto exhales slowly. The swirling chakra within him feels calmer, less agitated. Perhaps merging the Akatsuki powers has given him a perspective beyond mere revenge. He glances at Tsunade. All right, I'll consider it. To be continued.